Guess who's back? Back again. I don't know the rest of the words because I wasn't an Eminem kid because I am insanely uncool. Guys.
I was like, it wasn't a high threshold, Nick. I think a lot of white kids were just like, I could be like him.
Is that what the appeal was?
It didn't seem like it was hard to obtain. It was like talk really quick and talk about killing your ex, and then a couple cum jokes, and boom, you're basically Eminem.
I mean, I didn't know about some of that.
The cum or the ex-wife?
The ex-wife.
Oh my god, yeah, like once an album, like really? Every Eminem album for a little bit was like a couple hit like radio songs, a song about how much he loves his daughter, and then a song about how much he wants to kill his ex. It was like there was like always one song in the album that was really, because like a lot of the songs would be like, you know what, fuck you. I don't remember her name, but it's like, yo, fuck you, but I'm better without you. And then there'd be like a whole song where he's just like, if I ever see you in the street, I'll run you over with my car. You're just like, damn, Em, still not over? What's going on?
Privately, Marshall is just like, man, I hope like nothing. I hope she just like, you know, when she does die, she just like dies quietly of natural causes. If there's not like anything
it can't be mysterious
at all shady about it.
It can't. There can't be.
They're gonna come knocking at my door.
There cannot be a fraction of doubt in that case.
Yes, I would like to enter into evidence the entire discography.
I'd like his entire albums to be used as evidence. Like, damn, this is an open shut case, Em. I don't know what to tell you. He's like, can you not call me Eminem if you're my lawyer? I have a legal name. Sorry, son.
I know, but
sorry, Mr. Shady.
Mr. Shady. The People versus Slim Shady. Oh, guys, it's the end of June of 2023. And we got some manga to talk about because Nick went on vacation last week, so we have double chapters of everything to talk about.
Yeah, we did have the hope of having Austin on, and it was all set to record, but we couldn't. I was feeling ill on Wednesday. And then every day after that was just too busy. Like the first day we were going to be free was going to be Sunday. And I was like, the new chapters are already out. I don't know if this is worth it. But I did get his thoughts, and Ninja has them. I don't know where Ninja wants to put them, but Ninja has full disclosure to include it here. Okay, Austin, since we didn't get to record a weekly manga recap on it, can you give me like your quick thoughts on what you thought of the past week of manga?
Mm-hmm. Are you recording?
Uh-huh.
Why are you like this?
I just need to send it to somebody. It's okay.
Why can't we ever just have a conversation that is recorded?
We just need to know how you felt about the manga.
Mm-hmm. Okay, hold up a list. My Hero Academia. It was like, oh, remember there used to be a girl character in this story? And then that's it. It was like 5 pages long. Undead Unluck. There was a lot of talking about they're going to do some fights, and I'm like, oh, but what about time travel and stuff? Like, yeah, it's complicated. I don't believe you. And they're like, it doesn't matter if you don't believe us. You should do it. He's like, I'll do it. Chainsaw Man. What happened to Chainsaw Man? They got a cult. There's a cult of people who are like, Chainsaw Man sucks, and they're like, oh, we're gonna kill, you know, I don't know if it's spoilers to talk about this character, but we're gonna kill them if you don't stop being Chainsaw Man. He's like, I want to be Chainsaw Man, and then they're like, you have to stop, and he's like, I'm going to. And he doesn't understand the concept of being a threat.
Yeah.
He's too stupid to understand what an ultimatum is, which is pretty funny. I didn't read Eden Zero. Akane-banashi, character of the week. The character you hate. She has a style of talking that's so cool it gets its own name. It's basically her stand. Where she uses voice acting inflections to portray characters. I love that because that's what I do. That's my job. It's me. I look at it. I do Spider-Man point or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and pointing at the screen. Blue Box, it was cute, they're in love, but they had to live in the same house. How scandalous.
Wow.
It's just cute when people are in love like that. Cipher Academy, I literally don't know. They talked about the camera obscura, which is the thing, and I was like, I know about this, but like I don't know what the fuck anyone's doing at any time in that. Absolutely insane. Martial Master Asumi, you're still recording at least.
Yeah.
It's the first chapter of a new series, so it's a big chapter. And it's about a guy who doesn't want to do kung fu, but his grandpa is like the greatest kung fu master of all time. It's not kung fu, it's MMA. I don't know. But and then he meets a girl who wears glasses, and he's really into that. And I was like, wow, this story understands me.
Wow. Do you have a grandpa who beat you up all the time?
No, my grandpa died of brain cancer when I was too young to remember.
Oh, well, now I'm sad.
But no, this is the story. It's a reluctant guy who's like secretly the most badass. It's like John Wick, right? That's the appeal. It's like I can kill anyone I want to, but I don't want to because I'm a good guy. And then there's the bloodthirsty love interest, which is fun. I don't know if it's like gonna be a where it's gonna go, but it's a good place to start, I guess. Although I think of like the greatest shonen series, they do have bloodthirsty protagonists. Like Goku loves to fight. I don't know. I feel like you could go the other route. I don't know why you have to be reluctant, but it's just funny because the bullies and they were very Stephen King. I've been thinking about Stephen King bullies for a while. It's just like, hey, we're Reese's here. Give us your lunch money. And it's like, do you have any internality? What's your home life like? What's going on there?
Wow, you're expecting big things from manga villains in chapter 1.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't about them, but I was just very much imagining someone getting dropped into a Japanese Stephen King story. Let's see. New Way's Exorcist. I don't remember this one that well.
It was like a new girl.
It's a transfer student. Yeah, I was just really annoyed by like how like stereotypical it was. Yeah, the whole thing was just like are they gonna make fun of all these cliches, or are they just doing them straight? And it seemed like they were just doing them straight. And I was like, this is nothing to me. Tenmaku Cinema, there was the director, and he like got a good take, and he was like, no, I need to give notes. And then there was like the protagonist was like, wow, a real director. Over controlling everything and being egotistical. It seemed like they're setting him up to be kind of like a antagonistic sort of force, but one you can learn from. I don't know where it's gonna go. I think that a lot of this series is like teaching the young shonen audience about how films are made, which is fine, but I don't know. It's not anything. Mashle, for the record, Mashle, I've been told this is a comedy series, so I don't know if I want to go on the record. I think the joke is funnier if it's never been funny to me. But no, he beat the final bad guy. The series is basically over, but then the bad guy was like, "Waha, my evil spell will kill everyone, and there's no way you can stop this big evil spell that's coming." And Mashle's like, "Well, I'll just move the continent out of the way." And so he grabbed the coast and then kicked his little feeties until he moved the continent out of the way, which is very funny. And then he hit the bad guy with the big wand, or did he hit the spell with the big wand? He used the wand as a melee weapon.
Yeah, I think he used the wand. The ball fell into the ocean. That's why he has a little octopus on his head. The octopus is still on his head at the start of this week's chapter.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So unfortunately, the long-running gag that I don't know that Mashle's comedy series has to come to an end because it's very funny to kick your little feeties. We love to see that. Elusive Samurai. Like less thoughts about the chapter itself. The villain used like the bone weapon to kill what's his fuck, and then they're like, oh, a new era has begun, and there's like exposition about Japanese history. And it just reminds me of how you and Nick used to love Elusive Samurai so much. And in the last like 30 chapters, I don't care about these people. I don't know who they are. They didn't teach me about this in school. This means nothing to me. I'm gonna write an American comic about the adventures of fucking George Washington and send it over there and see how you feel.
I'm gonna write it by one of the most legendary comic artists of all time and see how you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure this is much more evocative if you're familiar with the people involved in their political situations, because it's like, yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's fuzz over my head as a stupid American. And then Black Clover, I just made the dismissive wanking gesture the whole time.
Wow!
Oh, there's a big bad evil guy, and there's everyone has to come together. Oh no, he's so bad and he's so evil. I don't give a shit. Fuck you.
It's Strong words.
I know.
Austin Dorsky.
It's the most generic of all these. It's like someone making fun of shonen to me. I don't want to be mean, but it just has never done anything for me.
Okay.
The power of friendship will defeat the evil demon king. The wizard king?
Mm-hmm.
The wizard, yeah.
Well, he's not really the wizard king right now.
I'm double jacking off right now. 2 dismissive wanking gestures.
I'm not going to show your face, but yeah, he was with 2 different hands. Not since Katy Perry in the California Girls music video has someone pantomime jerking 2 penises off at the same time. So is this significantly to pop culture?
Is this for Nick or the audience or someone I don't know? Why are you even recording this?
I gotta go, everybody.
Oh my God.
Or at the end. I don't care where. It's wherever it wants to go. But it's about 5 minutes of Austin giving his thoughts on the chapter as I recorded him against his will.
This is like a podcast, Austin. It's me forcing.
It's basically, I had my phone and I was just pointing at my hand so I didn't have to show him on video, but I was just like, Austin, what'd you think of the chapters? He's like, it immediately sussed it. He's like, are you recording me? It's like, just tell me your goddamn thoughts on the chapters.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of manga to talk about this week. Fortunately, there are quite a few series where just one chapter just leads very naturally into the next one. So it won't be too difficult to talk about them as kind of a unit. And that is the case with My Hero Academia, which we'll start off with chapters 391 and 92. The first one is called Rejecting the World because of the big thing of all the Toga Twice clones saying all heroes must die, which sounds like a terrible mid-2000s game where you can just destroy everything and kill anything. But
that might have been a game where you blow up cities.
Destroy all humans.
That's definitely a game. That was where you played an alien and did that stuff. You killed people. Well, you captured people, I think. Well, I think you could also kill them. Oh, we lost Nick for a moment. There's also destroy all monsters, but that's Godzilla. And I guess that's his thing. He destroys all monsters. Oh, still don't have Nick back.
I don't like this. I think that the stream doesn't want me to talk about this game anymore, so let's move on.
Okay, so there we go.
So things immediately start looking very bad for good guys in My Hero Town because there's so many twices. Ryuko, I can't remember her. Pixie Bob, that's her freaking superhero name. She's the Earth of the Wild Wild Pussycat. She uses the Earth control powers, and she's kind of staunching the flow. What is happening? I know what's happening. Hang on a second. I'm sure that my computer's trying to install an update right now. Stop it.
Okay. Because I was gonna note, I could actually hear you through that section. I got a little. It was a little clear.
All right, I'll figure out what's going on, and I'll put a stop to it. Yeah, so the big thing that is happening is that stuff is getting overwhelmed by all this stuff. What are you doing? Are you running a freaking... Why are you running a virus scan right now? Stop it! Stop. Fuck. All right. So, I'll just ignore it. So... This is the worst. I hate my computer sometimes. So, there's a really bad thing going on here. There are so many bodies, basically, that are going to overwhelm all the heroes if they just don't stop them right now. So, no pressure, Uraraka. Fortunately, Uraraka knows, of course, we know which one is the actual Toga. And she's, kind of using her cord things and zero-gravity powers to try and swing around to them. She starts continuing to deliver her big, let's talk about romance speech. Toga is in full kill everyone angst teenager mode, so she's not listening to her about that. But she analyzes and just says this out loud, you were crying earlier in the battle, and also you can't use all of Twice's ability copying powers, which means that in addition to love, you've got bloodlust mixed in there. So you're not feeling pure love right now. And Toga goes, "Shut the hell up," which is a reasonable reaction in these circumstances. And she says, "You don't know me," and it's well, yeah, probably.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's very cool. I do really like the panel where like the twice disguise just kind of starts dissolving off of her in her rage. It's very cool. It was a very short chapter that week, so we immediately go into the next chapter, which is called Villain Name. And in continuing her rant, Toga has managed to seemingly overwhelm Tsuyu and is going to stab her. And she kind of starts doing this whole like, you've always had a nice life, Uraraka thing, which is like, I don't know, that's presumptive of you. You don't know about her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you look at her and you're like, she just seems like a privileged kid. I don't know. It could be right off the mark. Like, what if they do an Uraraka backstory, which I had to mentally brace myself to say because I almost laughed at the end of it. Like, we're not getting that. But what if you found out, like, oh my god, she has a lot of trauma in her life?
Well, Uraraka does have a backstory. She's poor.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, she's got a whole family and stuff, but like she wants to make money so that like her parents will be okay and her dad doesn't have to work himself to death.
I forgot about this. I forgot Uraraka had a backstory.
It's a thing that has not really been mentioned since
her motivation. Yeah, her motivation since the tournament has been Deku, and then eventually Toga. So I forgot that there was like an actual character at some point.
Don't really blame you for not remembering that, but yeah, that is like what her thing started off being. But we get some more flashbacks from Toga's perspective, and we actually kind of get like revisits of some scenes that we've seen before of her being all creepy, but more from Toga's perspective, where, you know, there was kind of like more innocent reasons that she was doing certain things, and she denies that she was actually, you know, like trying to murder small animals and stuff. She's like, no, this dead bird just fell, and she denies it. Now, is that true? I don't know, but it does kind of show like, maybe a little kid going through all these experiences and never actually having anyone believe in her, messed her up even further than she already would have been. And yeah, instead of actually doing anything to help her out, her parents are just like, oh, she's a monster. And freaking, I can't even remember her name. The journalism member of the alliance that Toga killed, like her shade is haunting her and is like, yeah, you suppressed everything, and now you're trying to become someone else.
Oh yeah, I do remember this girl.
Uraraka is trying to pull her out of. She tries to pull her away from Tsuyu. Jiro comes in, and I guess Jiro is on the scene of this battle now.
I mean, it all happened in the same area. Like the twice clones were just at the bottom of the area where a lot of people were like kind of flying around, punching one for all, or all for one. So it makes like it doesn't bother me that she showed up.
Yeah. So Jiro goes flying through the air, and rather Tsuyu goes flying through the air, and Jiro's like, "It's okay, Tsuyu, I'll catch you." And Kamui Woods has the real Tsuyu and says, "Watch out, that's not her." And there is a legitimately terrifying panel of the fake Tsuyu opening her mouth and going, "Gah!" And looking very creature-like. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, people's blood is flying everywhere on the scene of this battle, so she must have swallowed some of the drops and is doing that." And it's like, well, I mean, yes, but also she's got twice as powers. She's got 2 accesses to copying powers right now, so maybe, I don't know. So they ever realize like there's just too many, there's no way we can't stop her. So but Tsuyu starts to give a speech as well. And she basically says like, "Hey, my friend is trying to have an honest conversation with you right now, because killing us all is one thing and beating you is another, and she's trying a tougher path than any of that. So listen to what she's saying." And she gets through saying all that, and meanwhile, up in the air, Toga has stabbed Uraraka right in the fucking gut. So, and she rants at her, saying, "You going on about having happy and blessed lives, and I don't feel any of that. Don't feel pity for me." And then she flashes back seemingly to a conversation with Jean, who said, "Hey, don't you want a villain name of your own?" Which I guess we're going to get that for Toga.
Which makes sense. She's needed a villain name. Did Dobby ever have a villain name?
I think it just was Dobby.
Okay. I guess, yeah. It made sense. It was a new identity he took on, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you excited, Nick? Do you have any predictions?
I feel like Uraraka's not gonna die.
All right. Well, that's a bit brazen, Nick. The death flags are everywhere.
Yeah. Like, there's one right there.
Mm-hmm. If you look in the corner, yeah. You can see it. Waldo's carrying it. He's like, here you go. I think her villain name is going to be the little Harley Quinn. And then they're going to be like, copyright. So she's like, how about Blood Talk?
The end of My Hero Academia.
Yeah, the lawyer comes into panel, hands him a cease and desist, and then the manga ends. Oops.
What a twist.
She's like, I'm not even that much like Harley Quinn, to be honest. She just started an archetype that eventually I expanded upon. I'm much closer to Jinx, who was definitely heavily inspired by that, but we can't get Jinx credit for everything, all right? Most people don't even know what a League of Legends is. And then I pop in and I'm like, let me tell you about old League of Legends lore. We're going to start with Dr. Mundo.
A league in my Legends? Could it be?
It might be more than you think.
Wait a minute, Arcane's based on a game?
What the hell?
Honestly, better if you just ignore it.
Is there as much queer sexual tension in the game? You're like, no.
A little bit.
A little bit, but no. And to be clear, they won't ever do Dr. Mundo right, so... No. Is it really even a League of Legends game? We know we just want our big purple boy, his big cleavers.
I mean, actual League of Legends doesn't even do Dr. Mundo right anymore because they updated him.
Yeah.
So.
And I said big purple guy with the cleaver. I'm actually not talking about the Grimace. Have you? I know you don't use TikTok, but have you seen all the TikToks of people drinking the Grimace shake and dying?
Yes, I've seen some of the weird shit that people have been up to.
Little Dan occasionally just sends me surrealist, weird horror TikToks. And I was like, wow, I'm getting a lot from him recently. It turns out that's why. There's just a lot of weird, unhinged TikToks going around about drinking that Grimace shake.
Yeah, it's like we could just do all the same stuff we normally do, but we just kind of put a little bit of purple gack on, and and it's a meme.
Yeah. See, now we're cultural, Nick. We talked about it. Oh, can we talk about the new Fall Out Boy cover? We didn't start the fire.
We haven't talked about the freaking Netflix One Piece series.
Holy shit! Oh my god! We should do that instead of talking because there's no One Piece this week. And to be honest, the Black Clover chapter isn't that good to end on, so we should talk about the One Piece thing at the end.
Maybe. I did not listen to the Fall Out Boy song at all. I saw that they had done it, and I was like, okay. That's kind of it.
It's funny and sad because maybe some other time we'll talk about it. It's a weird thing. All right. Let's talk about Undead Unluck.
Undead Unluck. Yes.
I'm not even really going to talk about the last chapter. I'm going to move right to 164. The last trial is because basically what happened last time, Fuku was like, I'm going to train you, Shen, and the way you are going to train is by fighting all these other negators. And good luck, basically. You're going to get stronger. I know you will. So
while she deliberately touches him to give him bad luck so that the misfortune that causes the awakening of his negator ability will happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
I guess they're like, we do need it to happen. He's like one of the strongest members of Union. So he was number 2 for a reason. He was stronger than, or not stronger necessarily, but more efficient than Billy. So,
yeah.
So yeah, we pick up with him punching, Void and the little note from Fuko, like, please use my unlock to learn your negation ability.
Yeah.
Shen is like, holy shit, I don't really know how this works, but I can't avoid you. But I could choose to take the blow and strike back. So basically when your punch comes in, I'll get super relaxed and then immediately go into a counter. So that's what happens. Speed boost, dragon whiplash attack, boom, Void is down for the count. And everyone's like, oh my god, this is incredible. Cut to the stands. Fuko's like, oh, hey, Billy, could you do that thing? And he's like, right here? And he's like, yeah, just, it's better if it's invisible. And they use Unchange on Shen's little sister, who I still don't know if she has a name yet. Everyone in this chapter, when they refer to her as Shen's little sister.
It begins with an M, I know.
Does
and
it?
It's very similar to Mui, I believe.
Okay.
So.
Anyway, they basically bind her up with some Unchange. And they're like, all right, we got to get out of here because I'm going to go find out what's going to cause untruth.
It's May.
May?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So Fuko's taking May. We cut over, and Void isn't actually down for the count. He's like sitting there, but he's pretending to be kind of down. He's like rubbing his head, and they give the 10 count. The victor is Shen. And Shen's like, well, this is bullshit. He can still fight. What's going on? And Void's just like, well, is that pride of yours more important than your reason? I don't know. Immediately, Yusui comes in. She's like, I'm your next opponent. Shen's like, all right, cool fight. I wasn't even satisfied by the last one. Can't draw his feet. A draw is keeping him stuck in place, basically. And watching this is Fang, who's just like, all of your friends have weird supernatural powers. And Fuko's like, yep, they have negation abilities. And I'll explain everything because I don't want you to accuse me of cheating afterwards. And Fang's just like, I actually don't care. You've only made me more interested, basically. But he's like, well, why are you here? Are you here to have another, like, because you two were drawn to the inevitable fight we're going to have? And Fuko's like, no, could you watch Shen's little sister? And he's like, still, you foist these children upon me to watch? And Fuko's like, look, something's going to happen that'll make Shen become even stronger than you. Like, it'll make him very powerful. But this manifestation of his power occurs alongside the toughest tragedy he'll ever face. So we need to keep her safe. And the safest spot is by your side, isn't it? And Fang's just like, you crafty bitch. Oh, fine. God damn it. Cut over to Shen, who has figured out a way around to undraw. He's like, well, if I can't draw my feet from the ground, I'll draw the ground from the ground. And just rips the tile up that he was standing on and uses it as a weapon to basically slap Yusui. She goes fine. Start the count. Yusui also just doesn't answer the 10 count. And he's like, no, this is bullshit. Why are you guys all like not beating the 10 count? You're not defeated yet. I know you aren't. And Fuko's just like, why is Shen trying so hard to be strong? And Fang's just like, it's for a woman. Apparently he's been teaching some girl he met, Shin Hakuyo, and he's gotten very friendly with her. And because of like the nebulous thing, like the prize for this tournament is medicine, apparently, she wants it for her sick little brother, and Shen's going to get it. And he would, he's like, wow, he's let someone get really, really strong. And Fuko's like, who is this girl's name? He's like, I don't know. She's like, is it Mui? He's like, yep, that's it. That's the one.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Actually, yeah, you got it in one immediately. Yeah. And they're like, so Shen is doing this all for Mui. Wow. And since she's only just learned this skill, the tournament would be too dangerous, so he's entering to get the medicine for her. That's why he entered, even though it meant fighting you. Now it's all clear to me. Fang's like, the hell are you talking about? She's way stronger than Shen. We cut over to a fight where there is a masked competitor who is beating some uninteresting opponent, basically.
I chop fast!
Yeah. But as this is happening, Fang is kind of giving this narration where he's like, at this rate, she's going to win the tournament. She isn't just fighting for the medicine. Shen isn't just fighting for the medicine. He wants to surpass that woman. She'll go stronger in a blink of an eye thanks to the lessons Shen imprinted on her in his free time. She has a natural gift. That strength of hers is undeniable. Interesting. So Fang's like, it's so much so that even I would consider going all out against her. If you don't want her to die, you need to climb the bracket, Fuko Uzumo. Otherwise, I will kill her. And we get this shot of her walking away from the battle, and Fuko realizes what's going on. Shen is saying to himself, like, only one person's fighting Fang, and it's me. And Fuko's like, so this is the source of Untruth's tragedy that my unluck reeled in. It's Mui. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it's a badass chapter. I have spent approximately all of this story arc going, "Where's Mui?" And here she is.
There she is, Nick, and she's a badass, and
she's a fucking badass, and she looks so cool with the long hair, the bandaged up limbs and stuff. She's ripped, and she looks like a little badass.
Yeah.
I am very, very excited about this. Once I am attached to a female character who is underrepresented within the story, whenever they get to do something, I'm be like, best chapter. So
more Nick screams.
So I'm very excited about this. Is also a nice twist on like everything that we have been presented up to this point, which had seemingly just been like, oh, okay, so Fuko is going to help Shen surpass Fang like she did before, and I was like, no, there's other stuff going on, different stuff that is happening that is making this, keeping us guessing, and it's going to be interesting to find out more. Like, does Mui just have her own negator ability in this universe instead of happen to kind of like tag along with Shen? What's the deal with her situation? Is she kind of like in Shen's place with this, sibling that she's trying to save the life of and stuff? So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think this is a cool chapter. We got a lot of like interesting little details. I'm super excited to see if she actually does have a negator ability, which would make sense. It seems like Shen is not going to die in this world, so Untruth wouldn't pass to her. But she was a negator, so it would make sense if she had a power of her own. Plus, it would be nice to see like a new power enter in and see like what that wrinkle does for Fuko, because you wouldn't know what it's going to do.
I wonder if it'll be like somehow if it is like undeniable. I wonder if it'll be like related to Untruth. Like a reflection of it in some way.
That would be pretty sweet.
Like, denying something, it's like when you deny something, you're refusing the truth of something. So,
very interesting. Chainsaw Man neck.
Yeah. So we got 2 chapters of Chainsaw Man as well, which are linked to each other, with Denji just being a very stupid boy. So he has been confronted by Yoshida, told that Nayuta has been freaking abducted, basically, which they did. They did abduct her. The government did. And Yoshida just kind of like points outside to all the protesters who don't like what Chainsaw Man's been up to lately. Because, property damage, massive loss of life, kicking people off their motorcycles for no reason, that kind of thing. And Denji objects to this by saying, why? I'm a good boy. Which, he's so stupid. But there are also Chainsaw Man supporters who are fighting the protesters, and he's like, why are they fighting them? And Yoshi's like, because they like you. And Denji just looks outside at the riot unfolding and says, it feels kind of nice having people fight over me. He's such an idiot. So Yoshida points out the problem, which is like, look, there's this Chainsaw Man church. Membership now apparently exceeds 20,000 people. They're going to start, having influence on the world as like their membership gets older and like has voting power and stuff. You don't have sole control over Chainsaw Man anymore. So we've got to stop this before it builds into a mania. And then she's like, so can I see Nayuta and the dogs now? Like, no, I need you to stop being Chainsaw Man. Never transform into Chainsaw Man again. And then she just
don't wanna.
No. So Yoshida literally says, if you keep turning into Chainsaw Man, we're going to kill Nayuta. And that stops him. And he's like, look, you want to live a normal life, right? Just stop transforming, and you get that. You can be a human again, Denji. That's what I'm telling you. So, go home to those who love you. Go home to Nayuta and the dogs. Just live as a human. You can be happy without being Chainsaw Man, right? And Denji says, but I want to be Chainsaw Man. I want to be Chainsaw Man. It's like, but if you're to Chainsaw Man, you're just gonna die. I don't want that either. But I don't want to stop being Chainsaw Man.
I love of fucking poor Yoshida, who's desperately trying to explain how to threaten somebody to someone. He's like, I understand you want both, but I'm threatening you to say if you do this, then this will happen. He's like, but I don't want either of those to happen.
I am telling you, you have to choose between Nayuta's life and your selfish desires. I want both! You can only have one. I want both!
How about if I had both, though?
And then he starts screaming for the protesters outside to kill Yoshida.
But it's such a dork.
Like, Yoshida basically gives up at this point and just starts, like, laughing. Like, oh my god, this guy's so stupid. You know, it's not gonna work. And then Nayuta comes in, because of course they didn't kill her. And she just comes to the crowd and goes, Denji! They hug, and Yoshida says to the guy who brought her over, like, you weren't supposed to bring her yet. And the guy's like, what, you weren't done? Listen, he's very stupid. And he tries to, like, gaslight Denji and say, like, you were about to choose Nayuta's life over being Chainsaw Man. It's like, no, he wasn't. You were going in circles. So he basically just says in front of Nayuta that, like, we were gonna kill Nayuta, and he says, tell this guy to F off. So Denji's like, we're going home, and they walk away. And Yoshida's like, he's so stupid. How does he so stupid? But apparently it did actually get through to Denji, as we find out in our next chapter, 134, Ordinary Happiness. So, yeah, Denji's stopped, at least for... He is Spider-Man no more. So he's just going around, being an everyday dude, and he's just listening to all the people talking about Chainsaw Man, because he's still a hot topic. There are people who hate Chainsaw Man, people who love Chainsaw Man, saying like, oh man, all this property damage, and I heard that he is involved in the disappearance of that aquarium, which is actually pretty hilarious. When you think about that, aquarium's just gone, because
he used it, it's gone now.
Asa turned it into a spear. So then they start talking about, like, oh man, what if you think that Nostradamus is coming? What if Chainsaw Man beats Nostradamus? And someone's like, Nostradamus is not a devil, you idiot. Or is he?
The Nostradamus devil. Oh, what if he's the future devil? He's like, I'm back, and I rule! I caused all of this! All of this!
So Denji, like, you know, goes to school and hears about this stuff. He walks down the street, hears about this stuff. And then, like, they're listening to freaking the news for some reason while he's just, like, drying Nagita's hair at home. And, you know, she's, like, pointing out, like, oh, look, like, there's those stupid brainwashed kids are fighting the police. But Denji's like, yeah, but their days are numbered. I'm not going to turn to Chainsaw Man anymore, because if I do, then you'll die. So I can't do that. And, you know, it really sucks. But, you know, I'm pretty content with the life I have. Yet nothing beats a normal life. And Nayuta says, do you really think that? Do you really think nothing beats a normal life? And Denji says that he does, but he's clearly not sure. And later that night, Nayuta goes to sleep. He's in the bathroom talking to Pochita inside his chest. And it's just like, you know, this is what we wanted, right? But now it feels like, you know, even though this is all I ever wanted, it feels like I'm dreaming of an even higher heaven. So he's, of course, not sure. You know what he could use right now?
Cat! I, like, audibly, when this point happened, pointed at my screen like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio. He was like, cat! Meowie!
Meowie comes in.
It's great, because I have a real-life cat who I'm sometimes like, get away! The comic cat is here!
Oh, man. And, like, he goes and that's in the middle of the night, is just kind of, like, watching TV with Meowie, flipping between channels and stuff. And they come to a debate between some asshole and the new leader of the Church of Chainsaw Man, who, and of course, the other guy is just like, you're so irresponsible. What do you think you're going to do playing Chainsaw Man? But he is using exclamation points in his words, so he comes across as unreasonable and emotional, whereas I'm Chainsaw Man for reals, boy, says, no, we act within the law, and we're not just playing at this, we're being serious, and we've accepted Chainsaw Man's teachings, and we work as devil hunters. And the old guy says, what the hell is this Chainsaw Man's teachings crap anyway? It's not like he gave them to you. And the boy says, he has. If you prefer, I can let you hear Chainsaw Man speak for himself now. And then she goes, just full Home Improvements it, and turns and looks at the phone like he's about to get
the funniest thing. I love that he looks at the phone and he's like, am I about to get a fateful phone call?
So the leader says, let's all call Chainsaw Man together. Chainsaw Man! And then she's like, oh, he's gonna call me. Oh. And some guy steps forward and says, greetings, I am Chainsaw Man. Just some guy.
Some dude.
And he's like, I'm coming at you from the Chainsaw Man Church. The rumors are true. My body is halfway between human and devil, and I gained the power to turn into Chainsaw Man in a fateful encounter with the Justice Devil. The reason I fight? To create a world without devils. In a devil-less world, Adam and Eve will... And then she's like, no!
That's not what I do!
That's not me! What the fuck?
You do it for chicks! You do it so chicks will pay attention to you!
Yeah, he just starts having an emotional breakdown as Nayuta wakes up, and he's like, your guy's not Chainsaw Man! I'm more Chainsaw Man than him! And Nayuta, the 8-year-old, has to be like, there's your guardian.
It's sad, but it's also kind of cute.
Oh, man. What a wild ride Denji went on these 2 chapters.
I think I didn't give it to him, but I almost wanted to give my character week last week to Yoshida just for his face when he's like, is this boy too stupid to understand what a threat is? Like, he truly does not seem to get it.
It doesn't seem like a very good offer, Yoshida.
And this is just the guy who's like so cool and calculating. He feels like he's got a finger in every pot, knows what's going on. This is like he's got the
octopus to help him out with that.
Yeah,
he
put a lot of fingers in pots with that octopus, but he knows everything that's going on. And just his expression as it breaks, is he's like, are you too stupid to understand what this is?
It's like he tries to pull up and say, like, you might want to purchase my fire insurance, Denji. Otherwise, something bad might happen to your apartment. Oh, no, it's okay. We're careful all the time. No, something bad might happen, and it might burn down, Denji, on account of how dangerous this neighborhood is. No, it's all right. I'm Chainsaw Man. I'd fight them off.
It's the dude who comes in and is like, here's Nayuta, and it's like, why did you bring her so quickly? Like, you said you'd be done. Like, clearly Yoshida had this conversation play out in his mind, and he's like, all it takes with Denji is a little prod, and he'll see things the way we need to see it.
And collapse like a house of cards.
I forget, I did see some good surgeon memes, or the good doctor memes about it, and it was very funny.
Then you just perform CPR on that guy and burst his chest open. That's what you do when someone's dying. You give him chest compressions.
Have you seen the good doctor memes?
Oh, no.
It's the guy who just goes like, I am a surgeon, Dr. Han. And the other Dr. Han just gives this face like, fuck you.
All right.
It's good stuff. Kaiju.
Yeah, only one chapter of Kaiju number 8, fortunately. It's chapter 88. look, Gen Narumi's been feeling like his not dad doesn't respect him this whole time, but the whole time he's been working hard so the Narumi will, actually keep on pushing himself so that, he'll have a goal to work towards. Yep. So
that's nice. I mean, it is good to see, like, oh, Gen, or not Gen, Show wasn't just like super fucking strong or whatever. He was actively working to make sure he stayed a couple steps ahead of this guy.
Yeah. And bald guy is like, Isao. Yeah. Reminds me of when your wife died.
Yeah. He comes in, he's like, knock, knock, your wife's dead. He's just like, I asked you to stop greeting me like that a long time ago. Yeah, well, tell your dead wife to do something about it anyway.
Narumi has defeated the kaiju. It's in tatters. It's fragments of flesh now. And in triumph, he looks up at the sky and says, "How'd you like that, you lousy old man?" And he just kind of imagines Isao just completely stoic, unreacting at his desk. So, like, the guy's dead.
There's like the slightest curls, maybe, of a smile in his corner, like maybe a little bit of pride, but no tears like he was hoping.
Well, yeah, the imagined dad recognition that Narumi has here, just like, nope, that wasn't good enough. So, and meanwhile, we cut over to, hey, a fight we actually care about. It's Hoshina versus the close combat of the kaijus, and shit, it's a mid-size close combat kaiju, and Hoshina is actually losing in like every single regard, and Hoshina realizes that it actually outclasses number 10's abilities in every respect. But then he remembers what number 10 told him, which is that he was a prototype. And so he realizes that this thing must be the finished product, the complete perfect version. And just as he's thinking that, it darts in behind him. He barely manages to get his weapons up in the way that block it. But at least one of his swords just completely snaps in half. So he is in very, very dire straits. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a cool transition chapter to be like, hey, we're in Hoshina's fight. It's going to be interesting to see because these are two characters. Or this is a character that has no connection to Isao. So it feels like we're going to step away from that. And this is going to be about like that connection with 10, which is like just a nice, interesting change of pace after like two kind of things about like daddy issues, essentially. I'm excited. Like, I like the idea. Like, I was like, hey, kaiju number 15 does, or I can't remember if this is 15 or not, but whatever kaiju number this is does look a lot like 10. And it's like, yeah, because this is the evolution of the original design, and it's like a cool concept. Like, what are you gonna do? This guy was the improved version of the one that you had trouble fighting. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for this fight.
Yeah, Hoshina's just looking at him as like, on top of looking like kaiju number 10, he kind of looks a lot like my dad too.
I never thought about dear Papa until this exact moment.
No, always wearing that night helm.
With one long slit across, like horizontal cross slit in the front, with one eyeball poking through in the middle, just like Dad used to do.
Oh man, it was always weird when we would sit down at the breakfast table together because his metal tail would be trailing all around us.
Yeah, he was such a silly little guy.
Let's move on to Spy Family Mission 83. Last time, there was a foreboding note that we ended on as Yuri and Lloyd ran into each other, and there was blood hitting the ground. As it turns out, yes, Lloyd has been shot in the arm. And he otherwise managed to disarm Yuri by, shooting the gun out of his hands, the way you do. So, yeah, Yuri's gun goes into the sewer river after that. But because Lloyd's been shot, he kind of clenches and hesitates. So Yuri's able to kick the gun out of his hands, and they're both unarmed now. And Lloyd realizes, right at that moment, shit, I hesitated. And it's because, he recognized Yuri. Yuri, meanwhile, realized, like, oh my god, he looks just like me. It's am I that easy to mimic? Or maybe he's someone who's actually close to me. Ooh, oh no. But he drops that for a moment and is like, okay, you gotta come in, and he starts going after Lloyd, but Lloyd is a more skilled physical combatant than him. After they have a few exchanges. Lloyd snaps off his belt and whips it across the tip of Yuri's chin, which, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
So he thinks like, oh, he's down for the count. That's like broken his jaw. But Yuri gets up anyway and comes at him with a pipe, and is still coming after him. So Lloyd has to keep on beating him up. And there's plenty of like, okay, he should be down. Like, he's been kicked in the groin. He's chopped in the throat. These are all knockout blows, and here he just keeps on.
He's Brock Lesnar, Nick. You gotta throw like 40 finishers at him to beat him. You just can't. It doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah. Lloyd starts to think like, is this what being raised by Yor does to someone? Which seems a little bit cruel, but okay. Finally, he manages to pick up the pipe that Yuri had dropped, and he just snaps him across the face. Yuri, just full Kane and Undertaker, gets all the way up from falling on his back.
And then passes right
gets
back
up, falls back. And Lloyd starts to think about just bashing his skull in, and it's like, nah, tosses the pipe away and walks off. I mean, like, that would have just been murder. He didn't know who you were, Lloyd. But so he goes off. Meanwhile, the mission is still proceeding because the rest of his team is still trying to track down Wheeler. So they're like, all right, we got to move on to a new plan. And so the older agent that accompanied them disguises himself as the guy who met with Lloyd in disguise as Wheeler. And so then he comes outside, and it's like, all right, this way we might be able to lure out Wheeler. And then Wheeler is spying from a hidden space, and he's like, wait a minute, Wise has beaten me here. Even guess has to figure out he was being followed. So I need to be careful. So he's looking around, and the guy in disguise is looking around, realizing like, shit, the guy is still not showing any sign of him. So we need another part of this plan. And they have another agent accidentally crash his car. And so then everyone's like, oh, in this moment, like, the person who is actually on a mission will be so focused that they won't turn to look naturally. But he still isn't able to spot anyone because, oh man, Wheeler's such a pro. He's not fooled by this. But Fiona is observing from a vantage point, and she am super good spy, and she realizes that the guy in disguise, Wheeler, did turn his head to look at the collision, but his eyes were actually like looking somewhere else. He was still keeping his eyes open and watching.
Gotta love that fucking hawk vision to track the eyes of like 20 different people.
And also underneath his hat and through his glasses. Yeah. And she says like, his glasses weren't dark enough to hide his eyes.
Yeah, if only that fool had worn darker sunglasses, he might have escaped my view.
So she chases after Wheeler, goes over a fence to get him, and a car pulls up at the end of an alley to stop Wheeler from escaping. And it looks like they've got him made. They've got him surrounded. But we'll see if that actually works out next chapter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fine chapter. I don't have a ton to say about it. It was okay. I do like the little detail of like, we crashed a car and we needed to see. But he knew that they would crash the car to make everybody look, so he kept his attention. But he used his eyes to like look through a mirror to continue following his target. It's very like fucking Death Note, but yeah. It's still fun. All right, Nick. We got Eden Zero over here. Last chapter was they beat Mueller. There is not much more to say about that chapter.
I was very surprised when all of the build-up to Mueller having all of the powers of the Gravity Master and everything just came down to, and then they beat him up in one chapter.
Yeah, and then they won. But we have a great essential follow-up chapter here, chapter 245, like the Deep Blue Sea, Nick, and I bet you can't wait to find out what that's in reference to. So we are now 3 days after the Mueller Rebellion, And everyone's at a big fancy party. Rebecca gets a new fancy dress for Majuna, who is not a prisoner of war in this universe. She just digs this guy. Shiki asks, hey, why haven't we seen Shura at this party? And they're like, well, he is the emperor. He's very, very busy doing a lot of things. And I know, like, oh, but you've been hosting us these 3 days and this beautiful banquet and everything.
I want to clarify. I thought that when I read this chapter that I had, like, missed a chapter. It happens so suddenly. We go straight from Mueller is in pieces defeated to, and 3 days later they were celebrating, and everyone is in fancy ballroom get-ups. It's actually my favorite part of this chapter is just everyone's wearing fancy dresses.
Yeah, everyone looks very fancy, so it's cool. We cut over to Homura, who's talking to, I do not remember this character's name, but one of the members of Oceans, who's like, oh yeah, like, this is my grandfather, this robot, but we're not related by blood, but it's like Shiki. So I guess to continue that plot line from the other world, fucking Jin runs into Calum, and this time they're like, they don't fight about Robot Ninja School, they just shake each other's hands like super cool dudes would do.
Remember Kai Ninja?
Xenolith is still stuck inside of Eggbot. He notes, like, my power hasn't returned, and maybe it won't ever, but actually that might be fine because my human body died a long time ago. My powers have already passed on. I don't know what that means. He was a human once and then got turned into a robot. I know this was explained at some point, but I don't remember. But it works out. He's fine with not having his powers. Holy's there. Wow, Nick, why is Holy there? Actually, Nick, the whole Oraceon 6 and Estella are here. A couple of them are talking to Fabiano, who's like the one of the members of Oceans, but is also kind of like the warden or like the chief advisor for Shura. And they're like, hey, thanks for like defending this cosmos, but you're also sitting on like a massive amount of bombs. And Fabiano's like, yeah, about that. And Victory is his name. It was like, we won't demand you dismantle them right now, but could you think about it? Which is like a weird like statement to make from like the super cops who are like, if you could just get rid of the nukes.
You remember when America just went to those other countries and said, could you just, like, think about disarming?
If you could be, like, super cool about this and just disarm your super mega nukes, that'd be cool. I think you're cool. I tell everybody you're cool. Rather, this guy's super cool. He disarmed his bomb. See, I started it already.
I'm sweating so much.
Yeah, he's just like, oh. Amira's there. Homura's like, I'm surprised to find you're in the Erasion 6. Amira's like, why? Because you know me from another world. And
what? Like, how does she know about that? It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
She's just like, because a certain someone told us. So all the Erasion 6 know that Shiki and his group are from another world. Eraser's like, we can't talk about here. Let's meet at Red Cave later. And they're like, that's the place we met Nadia, who is a character I know of, but I cannot recall a single detail about her, except she was, like, cybernetically fucking shackled to a stupid place and had a piece of mother with her.
Yes.
Shura's speech is about to start, and they're like, oh, a big shot speech. This is going to be really, like, everyone's like, oh, this is going to be so obnoxious. He's such an airhead.
Oh, yeah. All those times that Shura's been super obnoxious in this universe.
Yeah.
While he's been hosting us generously for 3 days at no cost, giving us clothing.
At this real dickhead who at no point in this universe has ever stood in our way or done anything but work with us completely.
And also, this is the first time they have ever been suspicious or dismissive of him.
Yeah.
If it had been a thing previously, maybe.
So Shura gets on stage. He's like, attention everybody of the Aoi Cosmos. My father sucked, basically. He's like, look, not for nothing. My dad invaded a lot of places. And I love it cuts over to fucking Draken, Joe, and Nero sitting on a couch like boyfriends. And like, cause
Dragon Joe's in a sweater.
Yeah, he has a fucking turtleneck on. He's like, "You really did suck." And Shura says nothing. He just sits there. But Shura is like, "Look, this empire has grown too large, and I'm aware of the threat it's become to Ao. So our goal is not to expand our territory or to form a dictatorship. We want a world where everyone can live in peace and security. Thereby, effective immediately, I am abolishing the imperial government and hereby announce the beginning of the Ao Cosmos Republic." And everyone...
Several questions. Number 1.
Who gave you the gall?
2. So you, the emperor, are saying no more empire, and also I am single-handedly establishing the next form of government, which totes is not an empire.
It's a republic. We all get a vote.
3. Have you talked to anyone about this?
Yeah, everyone seems to be kind of like shocked because they're like, "What the fuck?" And his next move is to like introduce a bunch of people who I was expecting to be like, "These are the representatives." It's not. He's not addressing that right now. He's just gonna make a republic, guys. It works out. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. So everyone in this republic is now equal. Gets equal representation. No one will bow to any one king. Anyway, let's all bow to our heroes.
Yeah. So he's like, "Hey guys, I would like to introduce some friends who saved the Ao Cosmos when it was in peril," and he just teleports the Eden Zero crew aboard the stage, and we get like a 2-page spread where they're all in a spotlight being honored. Everyone starts bowing to them. Laguna's like, "Oh, it's an Ao salute." And Shura says, "Your love is as vast as the wide blue ocean. May we be wrapped in its embrace like that of the deep sea. Let us express to you our sincerest gratitude." Chiki's like, "Oh, stop it. We're friends, aren't we?" And Shura smiles and says, "Yeah, we are."
Oh man, if you keep that motion up, we might get like content.
Oh no, I was doing my shake weight. It's okay. Translucent. You'd understand, right?
Not since if only there was a screw to stop this sorrow has there been such a forced metaphor.
Nick, they're in the Ao Cosmos, which is a big ocean.
Oh my god, this is such nothing. It's a nothing shit. Someone shit and out this nothing came. It's so this whole big thing of like, oh, our heroes. It's just like, you know, whenever a big shonen fight happens and oh, what a long arc we've had overcoming great hardships. They were fighting in space for like 3 pages and then they fought one guy
and crushed him, like ruthlessly crushed. No, Nick, they did survive an explosion together. We didn't see that. We just know they survived an explosion together.
This is not garbage.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. The biggest like issue is just like there is no reason why Shura in this universe is just this much cooler of a dude. Like it's not like the only difference we know really conceivably is that his dad wasn't there for him the entire time, which is like a weird lesson. Like I'm a lot better of a person because my dad was not around, and I guess maybe that's what they're saying is like Nero's influence as like an emperor was like toxic for his son, except that's not ever really explicitly kind of noted in the text anywhere. So why Shura is this much like I know why it is. It's because this is Universe Zero, and Universe Zero is the good universe where everything good happens. But it, like there isn't anything that really suggests why all these good things happen. So it is just weird to watch Shura be like super cool and be like, I'm going to dismantle my empire, democracy for everybody. Everyone gets a voice in my world, and I love you guys. You guys are the best. Let's be friends, Shiki. And you're just like, I haven't forgotten that in the other universe you're a weird little psychopath. Like I don't know. It would be like if a show was like, in this universe, Hitler wants to save the Jews. You'd be like, this is just weird, guys. I don't know why you're doing this.
It also doesn't really even follow why he is deciding to take this step. Like, there's nothing set up to indicate why he's doing this other than just like, well, democracy is good. And yes, that is the case. You know, monarchies are just like generally bad. Concentrating the power on a single person is bad because, you know, it's great when the person is good, like Shura. But what if they're an evil asshole, like Shura? So, you know, that is a good thing. But in universe, it doesn't make sense because it has been established that Shura's empire is just cool and good. The rebellion had nothing to fight against because everything was just good for people, because this is the good universe. So without an impetus for a change to need to be made, why is he making the change?
It is very
when
hollow.
Something is good, change is not really necessary. So, you know, maybe if they had like focused a bit more and developed stuff going on with Mueller more.
Whoa, hold on a second, Nick. Spend time in this arc doing something?
I know. But like, maybe if you had like stress the point of like Mueller is dangerous because he has gathered all this power and taken it for himself, and you could have Shura developed a bit more, and maybe you could have him be a good person but be selfish and paranoid and not willing to cede power to other people because he's like, I think that, you know, like I need to protect my friends and the people I care about and stuff. And there could be thus a conflict between him and Eden Zero. Like, there's so many ways you could do this to make it more interesting and have a theme that could come out of this, but we spend so little time on any of this that there's just nothing. Like, it's like almost anything would have been better than this because it's a big climax to literally nothing, and it's weird. So only Eden Zero.
All right, Nick, let's talk about Akane-banashi.
We gotta do that. So these two chapters are all about Hikaru's big performance. It starts off in like in chapter 66. Let's forget about it, where she is learning how to, you know, do the story that she is telling in the competition. But she is told by her master, like, hey, look, you're like using distinct vocalizations and different voices for characters. That's not how you do things in Rakugo. So stop doing vocal styling. Stop being a voice actor. Be a Rakugoka. And so he keeps on stressing that, stressing that. And then, you know, as like she's getting more and more into this, she's also like trying to work, you know, go to lessons more and stuff. He's like, no, don't do that. Don't disregard your actual voice acting career. So, you know, Iken is like refusing to like let her go at her own pace. Basically, he's very tightly controlling it. And you know, she's also getting to a point where it's like, I don't know if I should be like limiting what I'm doing in voice acting so I can do more Rakugo. And he's like, don't do that. Like, he reads her mind and says, don't do that. Don't neglect that. So, and they ask her like, hey, are you upset that I'm telling you this? And she says no, because she thinks as long as it helps me beat Akane, I'm fine with this. And Akane, you know, in the present is thinking about that moment and being like, that was weird. How she cut my face and like really intensely said, I want to destroy you. But she was thinking, like, what is going on with her? Because she's this really popular voice actress. She's got a freaking photo book that fans go pay $25 to get. But, you know, like, she was given that really serious declaration of war, so she really pays attention to it. And as the story unfolds, we get more of a flashback between the training between Iken and Hikaru. And Iken told her, like, hey, you know all that stuff I told you about, don't use vocal stylings and stuff like that? Yeah, forget it. So he basically drilled the Rakugo basics into her and then was like, okay, now bring in your voice acting talents. And it's a really cool visual because like these spectral entities of the character start to surround her in wisps of smoke, and each of them is also a speech bubble that has what they're saying inside of it. And it's such a very all the stylings are different enough from each other that it comes through from the stream. But one of the judges turns to the fuddy-duddy critic and thinks like, oh, this guy hates this kind of stuff though. But he says out loud, the critic does, like, oh, you're thinking I'm gonna hate this. But as it so happens, there once was a Rakugoka who performed the same way she does. and he would do stuff on the radio, which is kind of cool. And in the world of Rakugo, there came to be a term that referred to a performer who would do this kind of thing. It is known as 8 blind men, and which is just like, all right, cool. That's a cool, weirdly evil sounding shonen technique for this Rakugo style to have. It's like there's zombies surrounding Hikaru, and it's really cool. And then we get the next chapter, which is story 67. Still that girl, as Hikaru unleashes this, and I quote, art considered heretical within the realm of Rakugoka, which is great. And she goes into this story, which is about these guys saying like, oh, we're going to put on a play about revenge. And as we're going through it, the brothers and the Ronin will come to see eye to eye and all this stuff. This will be great. And then the day of their performance arrives, is attracting all these onlookers, but one of them is delayed. So they have to keep on pretending to fight each other while the crowd gets really, really riled up. And then like an actual samurai comes in to help out the people that he thinks are in trouble. And they're really shocked by this. And so everyone's like, oh, what a story. And there's like, 8 or 9 characters or something like that are involved in this. And she's creating different vocal styles for each of them, which is really impressing people. And then we get a bit more insight into Hikaru, which is basically that she's always just been a very rough and tumble kid because she wanted to keep up with her older brother, who was trying to be like, no, you're a little kid, leave me alone. And so she's like, I never give up, basically. And she thinks like, I just want to compete with Akane on even terms, and I will do literally whatever in order to do that. And I'll use my voice acting Rakugo and everything I've built up over the years in order to beat her at this. And she relates this to like she's been honing a weapon, and we get that weapon being unleashed at the climax of her performance of this very gorgeous 2-page spread of the characters in her story kind of dissolving into petals that are surrounding her while she unsheathes a hidden blade from like a bamboo rod. It's very cool looking. And there's a big, cheer of applause at the end of her performance. And Kareshi is watching the stream while this is happening. And he says to himself like, oh, she's really going in for the kill. And your photo book could have used a smile like that, because Hikaru now has this very self-satisfied, genuine smile on her face after giving that performance. Quinn, you've been very quiet this whole time.
Yeah, I didn't care for this. Maybe I'm old, and that's the issue here. I thought that the reveal, like she's like gonna use voice acting, was really disappointing. It felt like I'm gonna use chicken bones to make chicken stock level of like, well, this is nothing. I was like, I know she's a voice actor, so the idea that she's gonna pull out voice acting was like mind blowing. But I understand there is like a technical difference for what she's doing is not like the same as voice acting. They're trying to kind of connect it to like a particular style of Rakugo that does exist, and all these things. I do get what they're trying to go for. It just didn't hit me in any way. It didn't feel bombastic or cool or like an evolution of her style at all, which is kind of what it felt like we were trying to see here. Part of me saw like everything Akane has gone through and like her training with Master Aurora, where it was like, I'm going to give you something that's deliberately ill-fitting because it's going to make you a better Rakugo. And like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if we saw something like that. Like Hikaru, who's also kind of learning under the same person, maybe is being like forced to like expand her skill set in a way that she's not comfortable with. Maybe she's given something really silly and comedic when last time it was established like, oh, she's actually a very dramatic person. She does a lot of drama and she can really, put on emotions, and like now you had to do a very silly one or something. I don't know. It just felt like they were like, she does a lot of voices because she's a voice actor, which is fine. And then this chapter came around and didn't really introduce anything new. It just kind of established like why she's doing this. And the answer is just like, because she is a hyper competitive person and she wants to beat Akane. And it's weird because I feel like at a different point in my life, I would completely get that. Maybe, and that's why I say maybe I'm just old. It just didn't do anything for me. I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, I get it. We need popular characters to make merchandise out of. Someone needs to show up in the opening cinematic as like a threat for the character. You know, the opening of the anime or whatever. When we get one of those, like we need to do those things. But I have my character, and it's Kaichi, who I think is just a more interesting character to follow and more interested as a foil for Akane. So that's the character I'm going to go for. And it's like a thing in this podcast that I like characters who don't get the spotlight all that much. So maybe that'll be what happens. Everyone's going to be like, wow, Hikaru is super cool. We'll follow a lot more of her, and Kaichi just doesn't show up anymore. But I'm happy. A lot of people seem to really, really like Hikaru. So, you know, I'm glad you guys got like such a fun little situation there. So
I will say that I think that this whole thing kind of did roughly what I thought it would do. In terms of like there weren't any like big surprises in terms of like what you would see coming and stuff, but there were some effective visuals to demonstrate like, oh, what she's doing is, you know, in universe impressive at least. But that being said, yes, to your point of like the voice actor used her voice acting abilities in order to, you know, create a good performance. That is not going to be something that is going to change the mind of anyone who's already not into Hikaru, because it's kind of doing what you expect to happen.
yeah, they put a hat on a hat, and I'm like, I just didn't like hats. I'm sorry, guys, I don't like hats.
All right, let's move on to Blue Blocks.
Blue box.
Last time, Chinatsu and Taiki became boyfriend and girlfriend. They're a couple now. So Taiki gets a ride back to the station from Chinatsu's family, and I do like that her grandfather is like, that kid seems a little bit out of it. He should be a bit more sprightly. It's like what a weird thing to say about someone. But you know, Chinatsu gives Taiki a little quick text while he's on his way, saying, "Hey, have a safe trip back," and he gets all flustered over it, and it's like, oh, they're all happy and flustered and stuff. Taiki gets back to the apartment that he and his clubmates are staying at. He runs to Kyo in the hallway while they're alone, and he's like, "Did it go well?" And Taiki says, "Kyo,
my good bud."
Dude, Chinatsu and I are a couple." And Kyo's like, "No, good for you."
Aw, he's just like a good little friend. He's just a good little goober.
The gang goes skiing the next day. We see like none of it. It's just like, look, the big important thing on this trip happens. They do it. They go home.
Wouldn't it be wild if Chinatsu and Taiki became a couple, and the next chapter was like, what about our wild fucking snowboarding trip?
So yeah, he comes back from the ski trip, and then when he gets home, he realizes like, oh shit, Chinatsu Senpai is going to be staying here. What are we going to do?
Oh shit. Oh shit.
And like his mom and me asked him, "Oh, did you happen to see Chinatsu while you were in Nagano?" I was like, no, they know. So he decides like, if Chinatsu's doing this for the sake of being on the basketball team and stuff, then until she graduates and I get to nationals, then we'll keep it a secret. Right. And he's so distracted, however, that he nearly freaking falls down the stairs. So, you know, he's doing good. But then Chinatsu comes through the door. Hey, she's coming back and she's staying with the family again. And immediately Taiki's like, oh no, I'm in trouble because my heart's racing looking at her. Yeah, I mean, he's a teenager in love. Yeah, that happens. So, you know, Chinatsu's family leaves her there. When she and Taiki have a moment, he asks like, hey, should we tell your parents about us? And Taiki, you know, just lays out very, very reasonably, I think it'd be best if we keep quiet about it because I don't want them to make a big fuss, and we kind of have our plates full already. He says like, you know, and I'm already dealing with having my first girlfriend. And Chinatsu's like, first girlfriend. And I've got my first boyfriend. Aww.
So fucking cute.
Yeah. But she agrees, so they're going to keep it a secret. And, you know, Taiki finishes helping Chinatsu like bring her bag into the room, and then she's like, holds her hand out, and he says, "Huh?" And she takes his hand and shakes it really vigorously up and down. She's like, "This is a thank you handshake for carrying my suitcase." It's just a handshake.
It's a very respectable handshake.
They're holding hands.
Aww.
So then that kind of brings us into chapter 106. There's a color page of the two of them hanging out. Aw. So nervous is their chapter title. Yeah, makes sense. Hey, going about the day. Taiki's looking around, realizes that Chinatsu's already gone. Gets to the gym. Hey, Chinatsu is practicing at the gym like she always does, really, really early. Even earlier than usual, Taiki observes. And he's like, "Come on, us to walk to school together." Understandable. If you can't be alone at school or at home, on the way to school from home is about the only chance you're going to get
that
to
is
be
like the
around your
window.
couple. So, but he realized, like, oh, she's like putting in even more effort after her basketball team lost, and I can't afford to fall behind. They go through all the like, hey, start of the new calendar year ceremonies and stuff. Then Taiki gets asked by, like, I guess his teacher, I guess, or maybe it's his like class president. They seem to have the same uniform on. It's like, hey, can you like get the badminton team to do something? So as he goes to see said badminton captain, he happens to spot Chinatsu, and fucking guy comes over to her, and Taiki's being like, "Stop talking to her. You guys are dating. Calm down.
Yeah,
calm down.
You won, my guy. Like, the competition is over."
Some people are like, you know, just talking to each other in the hallway, and they're like, "Oh, hey, did Kano get even cuter over the break?" And Taiki's like, "I want to tell people we're going out." It's like, calm down.
He's so fucking horned up. It's embarrassing, but it's a little cute.
Yeah, and he realizes, like, if we tell anyone at school, I could get back to our parents. I feel really insecure. At least he admits he's insecure. He goes and starts lifting weights at his desk, which is like, and Kyo says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm trying to become a hunk." Bro, calm down. She already likes you. She made up an excuse to hold your hand. So Taiki is just like really insecure, but he gets a text from Chinatsu saying like, "Hey, you want to have lunch together?" Taiki's like, "Oh, the two of us having lunch." She picked out a private little place in the storage closet so that they could have lunch together. Isn't that fucking sweet? They start having lunch together and stuff. And, you know, so Chinatsu's like, "Do you want to share my blanket?" And he's like, "No, it's too much." But they start eating, and there's a cute moment where Chinatsu's like, "Oh, we both started eating our bentos the same way." So they go through that, and then they just start talking about food stuff, and just like, you know, talking, which is nice. And she says like, "Yeah, omurice is basically oyakodon." And Taiki's like, "But it's not in a bowl." And Chinatsu's like, she pouts at him. It's cute. So
yeah, she's a little nerd right now.
Yeah. So they start talking about like when they can go out. Maybe they'll go out eating together and stuff like that. But Taiki says, "You know, I know that you're like probably busy too. So yeah." But they have a little laugh together over like, "Oh, you know, we could like go somewhere with eggs and stuff, and I'll use the eggs as fuel for all the hard work I have to do." My God, Taiki.
Such a dork. Such a dork. It's a little too much at times. You're like, all right, reel it back a little bit, champ. You've already done it.
Chinatsu gets all kind of sleepy because, you know, she woke up super early, so she starts to get all wobbly, and Taiki's like, "Hey, you can take a nap if you want, and I'll wake you up when the bell rings." So she does, and she just kind of nods off, just kind of slumps over a bit. And she nearly kind of falls over, so Taiki like reaches out to kind of prop her head up, and when he does that, her head falls against his wrist, and she starts nuzzling against his sleeve. Aww. And then Taiki's got, man, I really got to, I've got to like hold up my end of this.
It's very cute.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's nice, and I'm glad that they were able to have a normal-ish date.
I like the idea of like, hey, I know of a spot in the school where we could just hang out and be friends. Like, I don't know, it's very cute.
They're doing great. Let's take bets on how long this will last until they...
Hey, this series could be ending. Maybe it's like halfway over. We got like a little bit of time to deal with like some trials and tribulations, and then, I don't know, maybe it ends.
I mean, you know, it is possible in this day and age, Quinn, for romantic comedy shonen series to just have relationships that happen and then other stuff happens after that. Kaguya has proven that. And maybe this can do the same. We'll see. Let's talk about Cipher Academy.
Hell yes! Oh, I'm so fucking stoked for the one chapter.
Actually, is it Cipher Academy? It is.
It is.
I had to double check what the new ones are.
A, B, C, D. Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah. So it's fuck.
Oh right, yeah. There's one chapter with the fucking wild ass name.
Chapter 28. Employ the battlefield and you'll stand out. Go with the flow of the battlefield and you'll get washed away. Try to enter wartime and you'll end up cramped. In any case, turbulent times are difficult to live in. That metaphor fell apart 2/3.
No, Nick, these are song lyrics. Remember the Bob Dylan song? Employ the battlefield and you'll stand out. Something battlefield and you'll get washed away.
I just remember the Jimi Hendrix version.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the one song where you just don't rhyme at all. It's very interesting. It's probably why it's not beloved. They have like everyone who's done a cover has a much better song in their library, except for Alien Ant Farm. This is their other big hit. They did Smooth Criminal and then Get Washed Away on the Battlefield. Those are their two songs.
Yeah. Employ the battlefield and you stand out. Anyway, so these two chapters are a team competition. It centers around Yukako and her relationship with Toshusai, because there is a backstory here that involves the opposing team. Where apparently Yukiko used to actually be related to another family and stuff. Well, not related. She worked for another family and everything. And then Toshusai and Taiyu came across her, and they ended up having this big thing of like military secret trading and stuff like that. And then afterwards, they kind of like offered Yukiko a position, and she took it up, and they've been friends ever since. That's the way that Shutan explains it to Iroha. It's explained to him a different way, which is like she was freaking brainwashed by them. Like she was captured and stuff, and they left her no recourse but to have to do it. So what is the truth? Well, we don't really find out. It remains kind of nebulous. But the idea, of course, is that there are two sides to things, and that is also a big thing with the comeback imitation game, where Toshusai and Taiyu are inside of this fully like covered up cubicle blanket thing, and then a camera obscura is used to project an image of Yukiko through a tiny little hole. So, you know, it's a thing that you can do. I don't remember exactly how it works, but because of the light being shined through, it broadcasts an image upside down through the slit of Yukiko. But there's two Yukikos. Or is there? So Toshusai is challenged to guess which is the real one. Or are both of them fake? Ooh, because of all of the disguises and stuff like that. And so we are told that, yeah, even though it would just be a tie if they get this wrong, if Toshusai gets this wrong, she'll never again be able to call herself Yukiko Omomuro's friend ever again.
That's how serious this is.
And Iroha's like, is it really? And Shudan's like, no. And both Yugata and Toshusai are like, she's right, it is that serious. Which is legitimately amazing.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I feel like we would have the same thing. If you didn't get this right, Nick, I'd be like, what the fuck?
And I'd be like, no, it's bullshit because...
I did a fart sound effect. Clearly that was the real me.
Look, Quinn, I'm sorry. I can't do a handstand, okay?
Nick, you're spoiling what's about to happen in a much more reasonably named chapter.
Chapter 29, it's still a little wild. If you know the enemy and encrypt yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Sun Tzu!
Yeah, this is the second chorus to that song.
If you know the enemy and encrypt yourself against...
Oh, classic.
There...
These are all... This is good stuff.
There is a puzzle that has been provided here, which is given to Toshisai later. I think they establish. I think. And the puzzle is what maximum to you, for you, at you. And this is, again, one of those puzzles where you have to work backwards from the solution, and the only real context for it is there's two identical images side by side, which is supposed to tell you that the letters are supposed to be what's the term?
Perpendicular or parallel?
Symmetrical.
Okay.
Sorry. Horizontally symmetrical.
Rhombus. Parallelogram.
Yes. Yes. Triangle.
Cosine.
Tangent.
Hypotenuse.
1 × 1 = 2. So there is one word here where not all the letters are symmetrical, which is the word for, F-O-R. But you can express the term for, as in the number 4, as I-V, because Roman numerals I and V. And if you do that, then all the letters will be symmetrical. So it's 4. 4 is the clue. What does that mean? Well, Toshisai thought that there were 3 options. Either one of the two could be the real Omuro, or it could be neither of them. But what if it's a 4th option? So we go through like some stuff where like Toshisai like asks Yukiko questions and they answer them exactly the same, but also reflected backwards, which also kind of gives away what the solution is if you think about it. So Toshisai's like, do you have any questions to ask? And because they're both supposed to guess which one is the real one at this point. It's a contest. Mm-hmm. They're not only is one of them guessing it, but both of them are guessing it, even though one of them should say kind of already knows because they know the plan, whatever.
Yeah.
So Toshisai, while Iroha's thinking it over, turns to him and says like, hey, can I ask some advice from you? And Iroha's like, I mean, wow, if you told me to die, I'd happily die, but asking me to read their expressions from the side is... And Toshisai says the cool thing first, which is like, well, what I want is a cheerleader's advice. Why'd you think I would tell you to die?
Yeah. Hey, bud, are you okay?
Are you okay?
We don't talk enough. Are you okay?
Iroha, are you all right?
Yeah, bud. Hey, you wanna... Fuck this. Do you need to go to the back?
Have I told you? Do you know that we're friends? Have I told you that recently? You're my friend. Like...
Yeah. If I don't validate you enough, let me know. You are my friend.
But she asks Iroha to show her how to do that thing you were doing before. And then you got to like, yeah, show me how to do it too. Shuna's like, I mean, yeah, I'm not doing a good at that either, but show me how to do it. And the only reason that both of them do it is so that we can get this big group shot of all 4 of them trying to do one of his dance moves, which is the like kick up into a one-arm handstand thing. And Shutan immediately falls on her ass. The poor girl. She's all bandaged up, and some of those are real bandages. But as a result of flipping upside down to do the handstand thing, Toshisai is able to see the image and look at it more clearly, because admittedly, it's more difficult to examine the details of an image when it's upside down. Your eyes don't play certain details. but she realized, like, oh, okay, the real Yukiko is on the right, or at least that's how it appears. It's actually the left Yukiko, or at least that's how it appears. Both are imitations. At least that's how it appears. And she writes down her answer.
It's so fucking funny. I don't know why she keeps
Both
doing
are
this.
real.
She keeps doing this thing. She's like, but that's what it appears. Actually, it's this. But that's just what it appears. And you're like, wait, I don't understand what you're saying anymore. What do you mean?
The answer
there's
is...
like a viral clip right now going on because Jennifer Lawrence was on Hot Ones. And
right.
He was like shaking the bottle, and she's just like, she's already like her mouth's hot. She's just like, what do you mean? No, what do you mean? And then it just breaks it herself. She's like, what do you mean? And that was me with this. I was like, what do you mean? That's what it appears. You've said that 3 times now.
So Toshisai explains that, like, they're images of the real Yukiko being created by her, standing outside of the camera obscura box, with her image being reflected by off of a mirror that is directly next to her. So, yep, yeah.
All right, you win.
Yep, that's it. And the solution is presented by the president of the other class, saying the past Yukiko and the current Yukiko are both real. What a very Yukiko Umamura-esque thing to say. I mean, okay.
I'm sure. I believe you. I believe you. This is a very
it's just a mirror
thing. Yeah.
It's just a mirror. I mean, technically speaking, yes, one is a reflected image, so that one is technically a little bit in the past, because, you know, you can never look at yourself in the present. You're always looking at yourself very, very, very slightly in the past, whatever. Toshisai says, I'm not Tayutan, but can you please stop talking like you know anything about her? So what's your answer? And the answer that the other was given was, both are real, which is the same thing that Toshisai wrote down. So she admits it was an imitation answer. So she's like, you guys basically won. And hey, it's a big celebration for Class 1A. Iroha jumps up in the air so high that he like
punches the ceiling. Yeah.
The camera obscura box and just like blasts it up. And Toshisai reaches up to pat Yukiko on the head, which is kind of cute.
It's cute. It's a little demeaning, but it is cute. Like, she's closing her eyes while she does it, and you're like, that's a Toshisai thing to do. But also just like, all right, I'm not a dog. Stop this.
Iroha calls over to the other leading private and says, so I'm going to go visit Hokiboshi while she recuperates from Taiyu destroying her. But I've got a question for you. And he asks about the Battlefield Dancer, still on that thread from like 20 chapters ago at this point. But Kubinashi says, like, yeah, I don't really know about that. We're the undercover operations class. Decoding and analysis are outside our area of expertise. So why are you in a code-breaking tournament? She presents him with 1/6 of the code key. And says, like, we just got this during some of our undercover maneuvers. Didn't actually solve this ourselves. But she says, I think that Class B excels in that sort of thing. They're the one class I don't want to fight, is another one of my personal opinions.
This is so good. This is what my favorite moment of the entire chapter, maybe the series.
So Class 1B introducing them. Look at all the animal ears that they're making. Wait a minute, that was just a bear.
This moose is just an animal.
It was just a bear girl. Not a bear girl, a bear in a uniform.
But her name is Quokka Eteshite, so yeah. She's a Quokka, Nick.
Yeah.
And she talks as well.
Yep. Okay.
It's so fucking wild. These motherfuckers just stunt in here with the weirdest fucking shit. And then they're just like, they just like sing poetry and then leave. That's it. That's the chapter. It just ends there. I love it. It's so ridiculous. I was like, all right. They really nailed it the first time with this first antagonist group. Their whole thing's like undercover. There's one who dresses like other people, one that hid under the table, one who's the leader, one who's the body double of the leader who hides in her shadow, and then one who's the body double of the body double who hides in her shadow. I was like, so ridiculous, so over the top. How do you beat that? And I don't know what these fuckers' gimmicks are, but they all showed up in motherfucking animal like headdresses, and one of them just looks like she's a bear. So
Yep.
perfect. I'm already like, all right, we've got another interesting group of little weirdos to beat up.
Yeah.
All right, Nick. Let's talk about Icehead Gill.
Yeah, we got one chapter of this that just came out this week. It is by Iko Hachiya, who is kind of like an unknown newbie. So this is their first big series. And it's a very Viking-themed kind of show. Manga, rather. That's about all I have to say about it. It's look, we got a lot to get through yet, and I don't honestly have a lot of notes about this series beyond it's Viking themed, and that's kind of different for Jump stuff. Honestly, in like recent history, I don't remember any like very Viking themed thing in Jump stuff. Obviously, of course, Vinland Saga is very famous and successful right now, but beyond that, you know. It just seems like kind of like a dark fantasy monster killing kind of thing. The kid fights with an axe. Yeah,
I mean, it's cool. Our lead character fights with like a battle axe. That's like a different thing for Jump. It's like a prominent female character is kind of cool. It is fun. It has like a lot of like Fist of the North Star kind of artwork where there's just a lot of like detailed burly people, which is like just a fun aesthetic. But yeah, I don't have like a ton of thoughts on it. This is like another chapter I just got to like reread at some point because I don't think I truly comprehended it the first time.
Yeah, I mean, like the monster that shows up, the Lich guy. He's neat looking and stuff, and it'll be cool to see what kind of like monster designs if we get, or if it'll just be more like humanoid demon guys. Hopefully not. And then we also had another new series called Martial Master Asumi, which we might as well just get that talked about as well. 2 chapters that have come out so far. This is about a reluctant martial artist kid. He does not like fighting. His grandfather kind of like whipped him into like learning all this martial arts stuff, and he doesn't like it. But his friend is getting bullied all the time, and he's always Asumi's always just stepping in, being like, "Guys, come on, let's not fight."
Guys. That's his voice when we recap this chapter week to week. Like, "Hi, guys, hey, Grandpa, it's me,
guys, it's me, Asumi. Don't fight, guys,
guys, please."
A new girl shows up at the school, however, named Aki something. And she's very big into martial arts. She like does kicks and stuff, and she helps Asumi and his friend out of a jam at one point. And this guy is like, hey, you guys should hang out with me. Okiba is her name now Okiba. And she's older than them, and is like, hey, you guys should come to me to my MMA gym that my family runs and stuff. And she's trying to get them into it. Asumi's friend is really into it because he wants to learn martial arts and get into it. So she starts demonstrating holds that you do in mixed martial arts and techniques that you do in mixed martial arts and stuff. And Asumi's just like, I don't want to fight, but she's really cute. I want her. So Asumi goes home, and then the bullies from before continue to accost him. Fortunately, now comes by and is like, "Oh, I may have to help out." And they're like, "Your friends suck." And Asumi's like, "No, wait, that's the wrong character. No, they don't suck. They're my friends. You guys suck." And then he starts doing martial arts on them and slamming them into walls and doing judo throws and stuff. He puts a guy in a flying crossbar, and then now pulls him off as like, "I knew it. You're a big martial arts guy, aren't you?" And he's like, "I don't want to fight though." But she really wants him to join the gym and stuff. So then the second chapter, she keeps on being like, "No, I'm going to get you into this. I'm going to make you join because I need this to happen so that I'm gonna show you what true MMA is and stuff." gets him to come to the gym again, and the gym rep, who is a former pro MMA guy, it gets put in a sparring match with Asumi this time, and they start like doing like MMA stuff, and he actually gets Asumi into a mount, but Asumi defends himself with this like scissor move and everything, and everyone's like, oh wow, he's very flexible and experienced and stuff, and Asumi's good at martial arts. Yes, the guy who's been training vigorously with his grandfather like every day of his life in martial arts is good at martial arts. Can you believe it? Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I kind of liked martial arts master Asumi a little bit. We get these relatively somewhat frequently, like just like a martial arts series. Last one was like Neru. And usually they're not very good. There's weirdly, and it's strange to me that this is the thing that like caught my attention, because this is not like the gimmick of the series really. But like the idea that Asumi's father or grandfather is just really old and dealing with like dementia, and they don't treat that like a joke per se. Like they address that like there's challenges in like caretaking for a parent essentially, and like the struggles of like kind of keeping up with their brain and like adult daycare. None of this felt like it was harsh. I don't know anything about the author of the series. I don't know if this is something that's pulling from like their personal life or anything like that, but there was like a human twist at some point, or a human element to the series that I did appreciate. So it gave me something. I still don't think this series has anything that like really draws me in quite yet, but I was impressed by that enough to be like, I did not hate this. So, you know, I'm optimistic that maybe it can like really turn to something special.
There is good artwork in this series so far, and I mean, like, this is by the author of Hinamaru Zumo, which, yeah, so I'm sure that they're very capable of executing another like down to earth, like real sports combat.
Now that you say this makes a lot of sense. A lot of the art's starting to line up.
But I think that there is a hook, a really big hook that is missing for me so far. Like, I don't have a big reason to like want to read this yet. Everything seems like it's okay. Yeah. That seems like it would be elements of a series that I would like, but there's not a big thing that has had me of like, oh, you got to read this story because there's like really cool action scenes, or there's just a really compelling character or anything like that. It's just like, it's a martial arts series. It's okay. Yeah,
it's fine. I do like it. The character work is okay so far. Since you mentioned that it's the author of Zumo, it does make a little bit of sense. I wasn't a huge fan of the characters in Zumo. They always felt like they were missing an ingredient for me, and that's maybe what I'm starting to pick up on here. But it has a girl with fangs who likes to fight, so like half of our Discord's probably going crazy about her.
And she wears glasses half the
time. Oh my god, yeah. It's like the weird thing he notes like in the first chapter, like, wait, do you have a thing for chicks with glasses? He's like, yes, I do. I love them so much. You're like, all right, go for it.
I do appreciate that she is just like very much the person who just gets the plot going. Like, you guys are going to come to my gym. Like, just does it. Because Asumi's not going to be an active protagonist, it seems like. All right. New Exorcist. Chapter 6, The Scent of a Spirit. My God, a new girl has shown up in town. And
wow.
She's coming. Another new girl? How could this have happened?
This is truly becoming a harem series.
It becoming.
Well, because it doesn't know enough of it. So it doesn't know what it's doing with any of them. So until they actually start doing something, I'm putting a little space there.
Meanwhile, Yajima and Suo Senpai are taking on another demon. Suo Senpai notes very briefly, like, there's been a lot of level 2 spirits. This is not how spirits act. When you exercise one, it takes a while for another one to show up because, you know, there are a bunch of low-level spirits piled on top of each other. So why do they keep on showing up? But, you know, they're going to fight the thing. There's a brief moment where Yajima, when he's going to finish it off, the spirit goes, help me. and he hesitates, but fortunately a spear goes through the back of the thing's head as someone else kills it. And it's the girl who showed up before, who scolds him, saying, "You've never dealt with the whispering smoke? Some spirits of level 2 and above have a special organ that is used solely to trick humans. Ordinary people have been deceived by those voices. That's right. All of them are the Grand Fisher." Admittedly, though, this is actually just like a nice detail to like have thrown in. It would have been nice if it came at a more, dramatically compelling moment, as opposed to just a random spirit that they were fighting that was whatever, completely unnoteworthy otherwise. But Yachima kind of shakes off being scolded by her, and he thanks her for helping out. And then she absorbs the spirit into her spear, which is bizarre, which they take note of. And then she's like, "We're going to commence damage restoration and memory modification." She just kind of walks off. Of course, she is a spirit reaper control person.
Nick, whoa, you can't call her Spirit Reaper. That's another series, right?
Yeah, it's another one. Yeah. So she puts away her Zanpakuto. And so Yajima is told by Suo-senpai, it's like, "Oh, she's from one of the 2 great established families." And we get a footnote that says, "2 ancient families in the world of Exorcists who hold enormous influence," which tells us about as much as what Suo said in the word bubble right there. But whatever. So Yajima's like, "Oh, it's like I'm living in a totally different world. There's great families in the world of Exorcists. Wow, that's wow." Anyway, so the new Exorcist. The new Sexorcist.
The new Sexorcist, that's his name. When he goes to the room, everyone says, "New Sexorcist," and he says, "Hey!" He takes off his hat. Whoa.
So the Exorcist immediately shows up as a transfer student in Yajima's class. just immediately get it out of the way. It's like, "Oh my god, she's joining the class. We are halfway through this chapter." So her name is Shiroha Fujino. And honestly, an actually funny joke happens.
You get one kind of okay joke.
All the guys in the class
Oh no, I thought a couple of them were ladies.
All the guys in the class at once go, "She has such a sad look in her eyes, but I understand her even if no one else does." It's like, wow, calling out every teenager in the world with that one. So Yajima, of course, is thinking about like, wow, exorcists are scary, I guess. So then the teacher's like, "Hey, you should just sit down next to Yajima."
It's like, funny. It's like there's a panel as he's terrified. He's like, "There's an empty seat next to me," and you're like, "Did you not see it? It didn't spontaneously appear in this world."
It's in that prior panel. You can see it next to him, so he just has no peripheral vision. So that happens, and then the teacher is like, "Well, Fujino doesn't have any textbooks yet, so Yajima, just share with her." And then Yajima tries to be like, "Oh, I can just review it later. You just take it.
Just take the book, and I'll fail, and I'll stay behind a year. It's okay."
And then Fujino is just like, who cares? It just pushes their desks together. It's like, "Well, just share it." Just no caring about it whatsoever. While all the guys are like, "She's so assertive." She doesn't care. That's the problem with all of you. You're making this. She doesn't care. Fuck off, all of you. You hardy horn dogs.
You're all weird little creeps. They're all weird little creeps.
Oh man, she's so assertive. This is like, everything is a different fetish for them. It's like, oh man, the sister who's not related by blood. Oh wow, the senpai who's talking to him. Oh wow, the girl who's pushing their desks together. Just talk to women. All of you.
They're right there. You could just do it.
So Hoshina is like, "Hey, Fujino, that's not her name. I'm getting her confused with a Gundam Build Fighters character." So Fujino says, "Hey, there's a scent of a spirit coming from you. Did you borrow the power from a spirit?" No. lead up this like, hey, did you borrow power from a spirit? And Yajima's like, ah! And then she just touches his hand and is like, I'm right. I can tell from your scented pulse right there that I'm right. And then we get a flashback from her perspective that she was told that there is that Nue, the spirit, is at the school, and so someone has to make a contract with Nue before headquarters realizes this. And so she flat out says to Yajima, do you know about Nue? My goal is to forcibly take her power. Did they lend you her power? Was that Nue? Could you tell me about it? I'm touching your hand, so I'll know if you lie. Also, I'm putting spirit talon thing in your arm, so you have to tell me the truth. And Yajima says, no matter what you do, I won't tell you. I owe my life to Nue, the spirit who lent me her power.
It's funny because it's meant to be like an inspiring moment of him being like, I'm not going to give up this person. She's important to me. But like, I guess because he's like sweating in the panel, it feels like he's not super convinced about what he's saying. He's like, I owe my life to the new Exorcist. And she's like, that's you. He's like, oh, then the person who gave the new Exorcist their powers.
That's you, isn't it?
No, my dad's dead. And then he flips the desk over and runs out of the room, ripping his
and
clothes
wildly,
off. Yeah,
wildly, because she only has lie detector powers from this. He says, I owe my life to Nue and won't tell you. She goes, he's speaking from the heart. I guess I'll just have to look for Nue myself because he's not going to tell me that he knows Nue. But then Yajima is like, okay, Nue's listening to me all the time, so she probably heard all that. So I need to trust her to play her role and not expose us, even though I've just done so. And then Nue shows up in the class and is like, hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, champ?
So
it's me, you're not related by blood sister.
What? She's not related to you by blood.
Oh, that's so hot.
And that's the truth, my talent tells me. Ooh. So, next chapter, Road of Radiance. It's a good Fire Emblem game. It's a good one. So...
It's the one where you have to manage beast synergy. It's a little rough, but you get the cadence.
So Yajima is like, oh no, Nue is going to expose our relationship and stuff. And then Nue comes over and is like, oh, a transfer student. That's so hot. I'm Sayako, Gakuro's sister, who isn't related by blood. And Fujino's like, I transferred here. It's nice to meet you. And Yajima's like, oh no, she can see through lies. And Nue takes her hand and they shake hands. And then immediately Fujino's like, what? This person's human. I could have sworn they're a spirit, but she has both pulse and body warmth. And yet, I can't get a read on her whatsoever. And Nue leans into her and says, if you want to talk, come to the old school building. Everything is so sexually charged in this series.
It is. Hey, you know what? I'm glad when she's like, she has both a pulse and a body warmth, that she wasn't like,
that's so odd.
He has a sister who's not related by blood and has body warmth. He struck the gold mine.
So then Nue leaves. And then Yajima goes after her. Is like, no, don't leave the scene. I have to talk to you. Why does Fujino know about you, Nue? I thought you didn't want to be found out. And Nue says, well, that girl's from a special family. A special family? Is there another special family? Yes, there are two great families. Oh my God. The Fujino family is really powerful amongst Exorcists. They probably know I'm here because of their personal intel on me. That's it. That's how they know. They just know. They just know. But they have to establish this because they know about it, and headquarters doesn't yet. So anyway, they go to the abandoned classroom later, and so Fujino goes with Yajima. They show up, and Nue's in a gamer chair and has multiple computers set up.
It's so confusing. Like, I know it's established she has like magic powers and like video games there, but when they just show up and she's like chilling at a computer with multiple other, like a LAN party going on, you're just like, I'm sorry, what the fuck's happening?
I miss LAN parties. They were so fun. So Yajima's like, you converted the club room. And she says, yeah, I got permission from the president. apparently Sue was just like, yeah, I'll be busy today. Go ahead. use your gamer pad, whatever.
Yeah, put a fucking bunch of computers in there.
So Fujino starts to say like, no, it's not like we're not going to. We don't have time to play. I've got business to attend to. And Nue says, we can talk if you beat me.
Whoa, she's so cool.
And for whatever reason, Yajima is on Fujino's side, and they're going to play Road of Radiance, which is a pretty hardcore game. Not really, you know. I mean, like it takes a little bit of getting used to, but you know, it's still like a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, there's like inheriting skills and stuff like that, but it's not quite as bad as like later editions.
So Fujino has played Roar, as she refers to it before, so she starts to teach Yajima how to play, and Nue says, I had my suspicions when we shook hands, but she is indeed a gamer, which you can definitely tell by shaking someone's hands when you don't talk to people as a ghost who's trapped in a school.
It makes out like I've been reading young ladies don't play fighting games recently, and that is an element in there. Is like a character identifies another character as a gamer simply because they look at their hand and they're like, you have calluses on your hand from using an arcade stick, and it's like a cool moment. Here it's just like, I shook hands and we just knew this bitch games. I smelled the Doritos on her breath, and I was like, this bitch knows what Road of Radiance is.
I am going to I'm going to write something down here.
Okay.
And I'm going to...
Seal it in an envelope?
Yeah, I'm just going to put it as okay. Chapter... Let's call it 10.
Okay.
And,
Chapter 10.
Okay. I'm just going to put a prediction down right here.
Okay.
And what's her name again?
Fujino.
Okay. So anyway, Fujino's teaching Yajima how to play Roar, and her boob rushed against his arm because it's so hot.
This fucking kid is so afraid of just accidentally brushing up against poop. It's wild. Yeah. This is like the 4th time in the series he's done this.
And he refers to her leading into him as my sacred personal space.
Ah!
Are you a germaphobe? Is that your thing? Like,
yeah. What's your deal, buddy? Are you like just super nervous around women? Are you just like super horned up and you can't control it? Like, what's the deal?
There's so much that happens in quick succession here that's so weird. First off, Fujino leans into his ear to whisper, "I'll know if you're holding back." Which, again, why is it so sexual? But then Yajima's like, "It's okay, I won't hold back, because that's not what Nue would want!" All right, calm down. Then Nue leans across the desks to shake both their hands, and we get a shot of this happening while there's also a chibified version of it happening within the same panel. You could have just made this panel bigger and just shown that happening.
Can't do that. She won. She beat them.
She beat them and congratulates them on a good match, but Fujino is not satisfied with this. So she's like, "Move your keyboard a bit," and sits in the same chair behind him while leaning around him so that he's controlling one keyboard and mouse while she's controlling the other keyboard and mouse. And so
this can't possibly be better for gaming. Like, I refuse to believe this is a more like functional setup in her mind.
That there's no way, because he's controlling half of each player and she's controlling half of each player, but they're also doing separate things. It doesn't make any sense for this to be the winning strategy. But Yajima's like, "How am I supposed to remember anything? No, I have to focus." And his power starts surging off of him, and Fujino starts getting hot because of it.
Is this supposed to be like erotic? Like, obviously it's meant to do something, but I'm like, I guess in my mind it's so chaste that I'm almost like, "Oh, look at you, you little scamp. You're trying to be horny, but you don't know how to do it." Like, you did it once, you did one panty shot, and now you're just like, I did everything.
I don't know what to do with myself. What do I do? You're the dog who's caught the car, and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I've done everything horny I possibly could think of. What do I do now?
I'm gonna send Kota Koei, the creator of the series, to go train under the learning tree with Shunsei. He's like, no, this is how you show a girl getting turned on by really unsexual things.
If this was Yabuki, her clothes would have melted off. I'm just saying, there's places you can go. I'm glad they're not going there, but it is worth noting that I'm not sure the author knows what eroticism is, but they keep going to it.
Nue still wins. There is also an image behind her, which I don't know what it is. If it's a graphic, if it's a representation of their game, or if it's just a decoration.
The triangles?
The triangles.
Yeah, that's just like a modern day like tech thing. A lot of streamers will have them in their backgrounds and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. It's an LED screen. Gotcha.
Yeah, they light up and stuff.
She's actually been streaming this whole thing while they talk about spirits.
That'd be great, yeah.
So then Nue's like, should we add one more player to your team? Like, the spirit behind you, Shiroha? And it turns out, oh my god, the Black Butler guy from before is the spirit that she's made a contract with, and that's the source of her powers. Whoa! And so Nue's like, do you play Roar? And the guy's like, you may be coming out of hiding, so don't expect me to leisurely tag along with your games. We will talk, Nue. I swear to God, if the next chapter is them playing games with him.
That's what I want. Just 17 more chapters of Road to Radiance, a game they never explain. They never give any more detail on.
Yeah. So this was wild. Give me as many more chapters of this stupid bullshit as I can get. Yeah.
This is a very silly series. It's dumb, but it's starting to become like so bad it's somewhat enjoyable. And I mean, it always was kind of there, but now I feel like it's gained a better handle. We're gaining a better handle on how little of a handle it has on itself. Because I'm still not at a point where I'm like, it's this weird fusion of like horny, like romance series, but then also like a funky battle manga sometimes. It's a very strange meld between the two of them. But I think if we weren't recapping this would be garbage.
Yep. Let's talk some Tenmaku Cinema, shall we?
Can we address the elephant in the room?
Is it the Shunseki couldn't hold himself back anymore after 10 chapters, or
No. This does probably explain it. This series is plummeted in the rankings. This is like straight up bottom in the rankings, which might not mean anything yet, but it'll mean a lot if its first volume sales come out and it doesn't do particularly well, which is like a super big bummer. But I think there's still some time. There's some leeway with other series endings. So I don't think it's like, oh no, we're going to get like 7 more chapters. I think we'll probably get more than that. But it does look like the series has not caught on.
Yep. Currently, that does seem to be the case. I'm sure that Sakuda and Seiki would probably just land another series at some point after this if this does get canceled. But we really like this series. It's portrayed love of filmmaking in a very captivating way. The characters have some cute relationships, and it's very nice to see these kids just discovering how much they love doing this stuff together. It's nice. So if Shunseki has to draw Kurai in increasingly small bikinis to get people to check it out, then that may have to be something that will need to happen.
I was gonna say, there's definitely it does make that bikini chapter make a little bit more sense. You're like, okay, I get it now.
So
Homeboy wants to survive a little bit longer and jump.
Yeah, we'll see. So in the previous chapter, we saw that Kurai had seemingly done a very, very good take on the horror movie that she is in, or the murder mystery story that she's in. But it's going take after take, and it's not turning out well. She keeps on getting rejections from the director Yukio, and Shiji is kind of envisioning it as like an MMA bout between the two of them, like they're just sparring with each other, going back and forth. So they take a break, and Shinichi kind of goes over to the director and it's like, oh, and she's so dedicated to her role. The director's like, what are you still doing here? And he's like, oh, I thought you were okay with me being here. I'm not. Can I ask you a question? But you know, he's just kind of like blurts out like all this stuff. Like, what's it like being a director and all this stuff? While he's thinking about the question he actually intended to ask, he, you know, said the wrong part out loud, which was just like, what was wrong with her acting? You know, trying to ask the very direct question. Fortunately, the entire rest of the crew really likes Hajime, but you know, Yukio is still kind of pissed at him. But still, Shinichi's wondering like, what's wrong with the performance? And meanwhile, Tenmaku is hovering nearby and says like, directors and actors are always trying to go beyond what you'd imagine from your script, a certain something. Himeki actually took on this role because it was a chance for her to work with Yukio again, and because, as it turns out, he's really good at bringing out the best in her. So she goes and has a private little conversation with Yukio about what the character's thinking in this moment. And he says, like, what is the heroine thinking right now? What's she like? And Kurai says she's loyal to her master. So when she discovers that the master has killed his business rival, she doesn't hesitate to support the conspiracy. It goes beyond loyalty. There's even hints of love. And all that's expressed implicitly in her lines. And so Yukio's like, yeah, you know, that's good. You understand the script. There's a moment where he has a little thing of like, it makes me think of when you were just a little girl and I was directing you for the first time. I've still got the letter you wrote to me in colored pencil just on his person. And it's like, all right, well, okay. But, you know, he expresses pride in her and it's like, look, the script is not just about simple suspense. You've got to portray all those thoughts that your character is thinking in this moment. So Kurai, you know, gives herself a big, like, this is exciting, smacks herself in the face a little bit to get herself charged up. They shoot the scene again, and she performs the scene very differently. We get this very cool full-page spread that shows like a film reel as her expression changes. Her eyes dart around the room, and then she kind of grimaces, and then she collapses instead of going, gasping when she discovers the body. And she explains why she did that by saying, when my character sees the corpse, she knows immediately the master did it, but because of her loyalty, her first reaction is to protect the master. She's concerned about not about the man's well-being, but whether or not there's evidence. So that's why she glances around the room, and only then does she allow herself to actually feel the terror of seeing someone's dead body. And then Yukio's satisfied with that, and he calls for a wrap. All right, next scene. And so he does the Soma thing, whipping off the headband this time.
Yes.
And he admits out loud, like, her first performance was actually fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Hajime is like, wait, what? Yeah, her acting was good. And if we didn't have time in the schedule to do more shots, I would have just approved it. But look, she's only 14 years old. And other directors might rely on her just intrinsic talent to just not give her proper direction and accept takes that are just passable. But if you challenge her more, she'll improve more. She could be a pillar of the Japanese movie world one day. And then she and the other three pillars will have a really unimpressive performance together, and no one will like it. So, sorry, they'll like the performance, but they won't like any of the marketing leading up to the performance. That's what I should say. So, anyhow, so, you know, that's what he's trying to do, is he's just trying to be a mentor to her and help her improve and stuff. So afterwards they have that, and then she spends a bit more time hanging out with the other members of the crew, and it's nice that we get to see like, oh, he gets to, you know, like see what it's like to hold this camera set up, gets to talk with the guy who holds the boom mic and everything. It's not just like he talks with the director, he also learns more about the really nitty-gritty important things that handling equipment and shooting a film. It's good. Afterwards he goes and talks to Kurai and is like, hey, in order to make this movie, the short, really fantastic, I want to step up. I want to be on the same level as you. And so they're like, yeah, they get all pumped up. And then Yukio sees them while he's got the script in his hands and snatches it out of his hand. It's like, what's this? Uh-oh, they're not supposed to be working on a movie together, and an adult has just discovered it. So then we get scene 11, which is First Friend. And Shinichi tries to snatch the script away from Yukio, but Yukio's like, I knew it. You're making a movie.
No, you can't spoil it. They're gonna make a movie. You're gonna ruin it.
No. So Yukio's like, yeah, you're trying to be a filmmaker, right? It's pretty obvious, honestly. But you know, he's like, okay, you can have it back. Why didn't you just say you were making a movie when you came on set? But you know, I can't be too hard on you. And it's not like Himeki's in your movie or anything, and they both immediately just turn away from him. The assistant director comes by, thanks Shinichi for coming in, and she says, like, you know, we were surprised when Kurai wanted to bring a classmate along, and I think the entire staff is really happy for her, because, you know, she doesn't have friends. Aw. And we get into that, because, you know, like, Yukio, like, gets in, like, you know, really threatens him, is like, I'm glad that she has someone to talk movies with, don't get too close to her. But, and we, you know, they leave, and then we get this, you know, like there's a conversation between Kurai and Shinichi where he's like, oh, I don't know why everyone keeps thanking me. And Kurai says, like, look, and she, you know, explains, like, she's a child celebrity, and the entire time that she's been a celebrity, people have treated her like she's, you know, an other, whether it's putting her on a pedestal or, you know, judging her behind her back, thinking like, oh, she thinks really highly of herself, and, you know, she's not even, oh, she's not even famous, she's not normal like us. And then, you know, she didn't have any friends. She would come home and would be like, everything's fine. And then Shinichi approached her with the script, and they've gotten to hang out with his friends and shoot a movie together. And it's like, oh,
it's very cute.
and so she really wanted to, you know, like, meet one of the people that she's working with now. She wanted her work friends to meet her, you know, like, school friends and stuff.
Yeah,
it's nice. And that's only the first half of the chapter. Shinichi says, like, hey, you know, once we're through with all the secret shoots and stuff like that, when we finish the movie, we should show it to director Yukio first. And Kurai's like, yeah, that's great. And so they get really determined. They're really going to do it. Then it gets to summer break, and or it's going to be starting the next day. So they have a meeting with the entire crew, club, and Shinichi says, like, okay, guys, we've been, you know, shooting, focusing on the solo scenes with Kurai, but now we've got to start shooting scenes with the rest of the cast, and there are 5 characters total, so we're going to have, you know, these 3 characters, but the big part is the childhood friend of Nagisa, Shimada, which is going to be played by Bito, who is their grip. And so he's like, why don't you play Shimada Hajime and stuff? He's like, well, because I got to focus on directing. Well, why can't it be Akitsu? And he's like, look, I want you to play Shimada. You already know the lines. And then Nagisa just, not Nagisa, but Kurai as Nagisa is just like, yay, we're gonna work together. And he's immediately like, oh, she's so pretty. Okay. So yeah, that was easy. And then, you know, Hajime just kind of comes home and he just, like, obsesses over the movie. There's not a lot really that happens after that point. He's just really, like, throwing in all these details, like how they're going to do different shots and stuff. He's getting really into it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. These are, like, some intriguing. Sorry, what?
I just realized what time it was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna rush through some stuff. This is a good sequence of chapters. I think it's a very, very cute scene. Himeki get to, like, explore some of her feelings, and, like, the cute little moment, like, I wanted you to meet my work friends. It's very, very sweet. I like everybody in here. This is good. I hope this thing sticks around. I need to catch on. All right, we have 2 chapters of MASH. I'm going to jump through these pretty quickly. MASH Bird Dead 160, MASH Bird Dead in a World Consuming Darkness. They defeated Innocent Zero, but his giant darkness orb thing is still coming. They're like, oh god, why is it not stopping? They're like, oh, because it'll persist after I've defeated. It'll grow. You can't stop it. Will you sacrifice yourself for the sake of humanity, MASH? And MASH says, well, looks like we really have to make our own happy endings, don't we? And he fucking, like, Dragon Ball jumps away through a portal, and they see him on, like, the edge of, like, a lake or an ocean, and he dashes forward into the water, and he grabs onto the ground, and he just starts flutter kicking, and they're like, what is he doing?
What is he doing?
Slowly, the continent starts getting pushed over, and you just see Finn like, is he moving the continent?
What if we took the continent and pushed it somewhere else?
Pretty much. He's literally kicking his feet to propel the continent in order to dodge the blast. This big orb hits the ocean, though, causes this giant tidal wave. Bash just like fucking like a smoke screen like shows up. He's like, I need your wand. And he grabs the wand so he can just make a giant, he just swings it like a big fan so he can knock the tidal wave the other way, basically. It causes a rainstorm. And he did it. Innocent Zero is sitting there. He has the dumbest look on his face. He just goes, I've never seen anyone use a magic wand like that. We get a rainbow. It's beautiful. A little octopus lands on Mash's head. He did it. He won the day. Which leads us to chapter 161, Mash Burned Dead and the Divine Visionary. So the octopus is still on his head, but Innocent Zero is like, well, do you truly consider this a victory with all the sacrifices that had to be made? And Mash is like, good point. Won't you bring everything back? And Innocent Zero's like, look, man, I did a lot of dark shit. What good would it be for me to do a good thing now? And Mash is like, look, it's not going to make you any less bad. But if you're in your last few moments, you realize what you did was wrong, wouldn't you agree that righting that wrong would be a big step forward? And he's like, you silly guy. Makes my entire quest for power and eternal life seem silly now, though. And he uses times thirds return force, bringing back everybody. So Domina and Order Maddle and the other Canes who were all killed during like the start of it, they're all brought back. Everyone who's died. The bad guys, the brothers, the guy with fucking Cerberus, who I guess did just get murdered by Cerberus. Everybody is back. They've had their life restored to them. Innocent Zero's like, this one returns a person's time without disrupting the flow of time itself. Mash even notes he got his heart back. And he's like, look, don't mistake this deed. I just don't give a shit about what happens at this point. And Mash is like, good. Now you should repent for what you did. I can't use magic, but it seems all right to me. I hope you use it for good next time. And he's like walking away. And Zero's just staring and he like stops. And he's like, oh, if you want to live long, I recommend diet, exercise, and eating a proper balanced meal. And Innocent Zero's like, it's not exactly what I meant by eternal life. We get some silliness. Mash is dancing around. Finn's like, we wouldn't have been able to do this without you. And he's like, hey, I might have had the muscles, but I couldn't do it alone. You know, it's thanks to everybody. We get like basically shots of everybody. There's like a joke that like Dot tries to take credit for himself and whatnot. Yep. But we move forward. Innocent Zero and the four brothers have all been like arrested and placed into prison. They're at the big Divine Visionary induction hall, and people are like speculating. They're like, look, obviously Mash saved the day, but they're never going to give it to a non-magic user. In fact, they're probably just going to pick whoever's the least controversial pick from all this. And we get introduced to like our host for all this, who's just like, look, we looked at all the exam results, the extracurricular activities, and we found that none were fully qualified to be a visionary this year. And yet, there was one individual who went above and beyond to save our world time and time again. As such, we at the Ministry have made a choice to circumvent tradition, and as this is happening, all the banners around are starting to change into the symbol of a fist holding a wand. And I say, as unorthodox as this may be, for the first time in history, we have chosen as a recipient of God's divine sight one who is without magic. Mash Burned Dead, step forward. Yeah, that's where we end. Next chapter is the last one.
Yeah, it's a very satisfying sequence that stays true to the tone of the series. I fucking love the solution of there is an unstoppable force going to destroy everyone, so Mash just moves the entire landmass that they're on by flutter kicking. I also really love that there's the moment where Lance is like, it's the continental flutter kick. Like acting like it's some secret technique that he knows about.
He's like, everyone knows about this move.
So silly. And then all the bad guys just get thrown in jail and Mash gets his reward. Hooray! Yep. Such a goofy fun time. Let's yeah, it's Elusive Samurai. We close out the intermission storyline first with Takauji just fucking kills Kusunoki with the spear. Like it's very, very short from all the stuff we have. Takauji also like cries over him dying, and Kusunoki realizes what happened. You know, he's actually really emotional. He's, you know, as merciless as a demon, but he also has those human emotions. What makes him so dangerous is that he can combine both those human and demonic strengths. Okay. But, you know, he thinks like, I'm sure that Tokiyuki is the only one who can do something about this. One who can be elusive, either waiting for him to die or surviving to fight another day, because no one can actually defeat him in war. And then Takauji's like, you should die if you should be reborn. And, you know, then even if you're my enemy again, I'll get to see you again. And Kusunoki's like, I shall come and kill the traitors, Takauji, even if I have to be reborn 7 times. And then Ashikagi's like, can I still eat your wife's cooking? He's like, no. Are you sure? Yes, no. It's very awkward.
I didn't hear no. He's like, I said
very
no.
awkward. I said no. A new character's introduced and gets his head cut off. Thank you. That happens. There's like more spats between the Takauji and Hoshina armies, and Hoshina's like forced to flee anyway. And now their empires are established in the north and the south. There are now 2 courts, the one that Takauji supports, and then also Emperor Dokaigo. And time passes, and we catch up with Tokiyuki and company as they are all older. And Tokiyuki is writing a letter, which we see that he is sending to the Southern Court in the next chapter, the Elusive Warriors 1337. And basically, through appropriate timing, he is positioned himself as, you know, an ally of the Emperor to the south, so that, you know, hey, we'll get some you know, support from the right armies and all this stuff. There's also like a lot of shots of the friends just kind of like hang out while they're still in sanctuary and stuff. They are staying with Tokiyuki's grandmother. And then we see that Genba has been getting spied on by that one shinobi who, you know, he stopped before and, you know, he farted in her face and stuff. And she's like, my specialties as an assassin are just using a Tengu dummy, and only Ashikaga craftsmen can make them, so I can't play to my strengths right now. And this guy just keeps stopping me whenever I try and stab him. Damn it! So Genba's like, you know, you seem strong, so you should help me out. And she kind of realizes, like, I guess I can't really do anything to redeem myself with my clan, so maybe I should. And introduce herself as Natsu. I should be saying, I'm not 100% certain that this is a female character. They are actually a bit androgynous. So, but anyway. Genba's like, I bought some bombs in the market, and I gotta make some new ones. Yep. That's the end of the chapter. Okay, so weird reintroduction to Tokiyuki and company. Just like weird pacing in this.
Yep. All right, Nick. We got 2 chapters of Black Clover, but we can really speed run this because the first chapter is basically like, hey, the heroes are doing a little rough, but they got this plan. They're gonna bring back Asta, but oh wait, hey, Damnatio got angeled, so he's over here and he's gonna fuck up this plan because Master Luscious was like, I figured out what you fucks are doing. There's some shit going on in that witch forest. So that's what happens. Master Damnatio is there. A bunch of the witches are like, fuck you, we're gonna shoot some magic at you out of like giant mud hole people, basically, like golems of forest. But he just negates the magic, erases their spells, and he's like, I don't have time for this shit. I think he beats them all off screen because there's like destruction, but I don't know what caused it. And he's just like, there you are. All right, my angels, shoot this bitch down. We got places to go. But we cut over to Yami, who's fighting against Morgan, Angel Morgan. And, you know, it's just like, oh, Master Luscious sees this perfect world. Come on, Yami, be reborn. We can be just like we were in the Great Deer, but without that fool Lucius as our captain. And Yami's just like, sorry, we ain't a team no more, dog. I don't know how to tell you this. I got the Black Bulls now. They're kind of my homies. I dig those guys. Besides, you were the one who said I had a good eye for people, right? Well, let's find out if we do. Cut over, there was this big magic attack that Damnashi was firing to stop the summoning ritual. Trap goes up. Boom. Ricochets that shit right back at him. And we just hear, end of the road, pal. The Black Bulls aren't going to let you through. And we see most of the Black Bulls here. I think the only one we don't see is Gordon, I think. Unless I'm missing him somewhere in here.
I don't believe so. Gordon's probably there because there's shadowy hands that are everywhere.
Well, that's Noct, isn't it? Or Nature Boy or Flare. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that is.
I almost tried his real name. Gordon is Poison Magic, I think.
Oh, you're right.
But he is probably somewhere around here. We know Vanessa is in here and Finroll, and I think this is essentially everyone else but them. So it would be really funny if they just forgot Gordon.
Oh, where'd he go? Yeah. There's also some other stuff, like I do actually like that we're kind of continuing this whole thing with Sek trying to be a better person even though he's weak and stuff.
Yeah, sorry, that was like the big bit from the last chapter. Is actually super cool.
Yeah. So that's like I think they did actually get a little bit of focus for a couple of pages as he tried to buy some time for people to get away. But yeah, like a lot of stuff is unfolding. Things are really ramping up, and if they're going to just like transport Asta to the battle, it makes me wonder if there's not going to be like another battle after this.
I don't think
it's
so.
It's just going to extend into the finish.
Yeah, Noelle's there and transforming, so I'm assuming that this is just going to be the case.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, that's gonna do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week, guys. All right, we have to finish the show. Quinn, tell me though, what was your favorite chapter this week?
MVP. Fuck, I had it early on. Give me a second. I'm going through the series. It was someone early on. It wasn't Mue, but she's a great pick. Is it Denji? I think it was Denji. I like Denji this week. I like his little emotional roller coaster, and I like he's also like a sweet little guy. Also might be like my backdoor pick to get Meowie in there, because Meowie's also important. My favorite chapter this week is going to be amusing, I guess, but it's Cipher Academy. I was really fucking tickled by those people showing up at the end. Like, that was just straight up like a page turn, and I just bust out laughing. Like, I think it was really, really funny.
I totally get where you're coming from. It's kind of tricky because we're in the midst of a lot of in the middle action right now. A lot of stuff is just kind of like building to climaxes in a lot of moments here, or setting up like what the next stretch of stuff is going to be. The only thing that really had a big climax this week was Hikaru's performance, I think, and Cipher Academy. And I think I'm going to go with Cipher Academy as well. It's not just the ending. It's the exact amount of cheese that happens throughout this. The fucking cheerleading dance move to give Toshusai the insight into what's going on. Just so perfect. I really, really enjoyed myself reading the chapter. MVP for me, I think, is going to be, just because of that one short little flashback, is I think going to be Kurai from Tenmaku Cinema. Just that little insight of like, she just wanted her mentors and stuff to meet her first fucking friend. It's really sweet.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The audience, by the way, were Simpson picked Akane-banashi and Hikaru. Makes sense. What nerds? No, it's good. I get it. It makes sense. I'm sorry. I'm very tired.
The real feelings are coming out.
No, I'm keeping it all in. I don't think they're wrong. They're not necessarily wrong.
They just don't understand.
Yeah, they just don't get why it's stupid. Please. I didn't want to make any. I made Austin apparently change his opinion on the Flash movie, and that's destroyed me. No. I was like, no, you're allowed to dislike something, or you're allowed to like something I dislike. I don't want that. I really don't want that pressure. I was just trying to create conversation.
I totally understand that, and it is tricky. I think you've got to like for every single one of those things, you've got to actually establish a rapport with the person who's sharing their opinion to not let it influence your own too much. I think it's totally fine to get like insight from someone and have it change your opinion of something. But yeah, you can't have it happen every time. Yeah. Guys, though, that is it for Weekly Manga Recap. It's late. I'm tired. We want to thank you all for listening to the show. We record normally sometime between 7:30 and 8 Eastern time. Tonight we were kind of late because my computer wouldn't start all the programs I needed, but we did it. We did the show. We will start again next week at around 7:30, 8 Eastern here on twitch.tv/Reloti. So tune in. If you want to know exactly when the show is going live, check out our Discord server. It will send out a blast whenever that happens. And in the meantime, you can participate in conversations with the other members of the server who talk about chapters as they come out, the recommendation that we're having, other stuff as well. There's a lot of different topics that I don't ever stick my head into because I don't have anything to say about them. But it's good. And also you can use that to find the Google Doc that is maintained by Ninja X3i, which keeps track of all sorts of helpful statistics from the history of the podcast, including MVP and favorite series, records, and series that we have covered in the past and may do so in the future. Make your own recommendations for stuff that you want us to talk about in a dedicated episode. The next one's going to be about Oshi no Ko. Lastly, we want to thank everyone who helps the show be what it is. People who support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap, where we do bonus stuff for you guys to enjoy. Ninja X3i and Mileage X, not Ninja X3i, Mileage X Stillis and Wizardale Cheddar, who did the opening sequence for the video version of the show. And the video version of the show is on youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap. We occasionally have thumbnails, images done for us by Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out wherever boobs are allowed to be drawn on the internet by just searching for Steve Man art.
Hell yeah.
I did the spiel.
All right, that's it.
We're home.
We're leaving now. Goodbye, everybody. No time for jokes. You got all your yucks. We're out of here now, losers.